Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's a little bit after 7 o'clock. We just came in from an executive session for the purpose of discussing strategies with respect to collective bargaining as it relates to Wilmington Police Supervisors Association in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, and for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property at 333 Andover Street in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6. That said, I'd like to see if we're in open session now. I'd like to see if we could all join us in the rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start the meeting, I just wanted to say one thing. Typically, when a prior town official or elected official or somebody that's been a longstanding member of the community passes, we normally, recognize with a moment of silence. And I know typically we don't typically go for residents, but I'd like to just offer a moment of silence for Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan was a longtime resident of Wilmington, passed away on December 8th at age 84. The reason why I wanted to mention, because for those of you who don't know, Joe Ryan had a barber shop in the center of town, and if you notice, it says since 1962. So, being born in 62, I know how many years ago that was, and it's just amazing. We talk about corporations being in business for, 20, 30, 40 years. Here's a gentleman that had a sole proprietorship for 63 years. So I'd just like to say real quick, Joe enlisted. He was a member of the Army National Guard from 1963 to 69. And like I said, he owned Joe Ryan's barbershop in the center since 1962. He had a late wife, Irene, and children, Valerie and James. So I'd just like if we could offer a quick moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So now we have review and signed payroll. Do we have a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable, warrants out of session?
So moved.
Mr. DePalmer, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gilwar, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We also have a set of minutes from December 8th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December 8th?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. DePalmer, second by Mr. Kyra. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. We have an appointment. We have Erica Marchant, Code 1 Barbecue, regarding a public hearing relative to the request to obtain an all-alcohol license for a restaurant for property located at 228 Main Street. Before I welcome you, just like, because it's a public hearing, I'd like to have a motion for the public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. DePalma, is there a second? Ms. Maselli, any discussion? Could I have a roll call, start on the side?
Kevin Curry, yes.
Jacob Gewer, yes.
William Maselli, yes.
Gary DePalma, yes.
Frank West, yes. Okay, we have an open public hearing. Good evening.
How are you?
All righty. So you want to talk about having an all-alcohol license for Code 1 Barbecue?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. So now that we have that big, huge space where the old Panera used to be, we would like to be able to offer alcohol. We are going to start with, my husband and I, we've built this thing from pretty much nothing to where we are today.
Yep.
So, and we'll continue that same path. We're going to start with beer and wine and canned cocktails, mocktails. We're not going to have a full-service bar to start with. That might be something we do down the road. We have some space that we're going to, put in some high-top tables for individuals who want to, maybe dine alone and have a drink. And we're kind of looking forward to just bringing that into town and being able to keep going forward with Code 1 Barbecue.
Yeah. Well, you've been in business for a few years now. I know you've been in the new location for about 6 months, maybe?
9 months.
9 months. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Time sure flies,
Goes
as I
by.
said
It
earlier.
goes fast. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, is there any comments from the board?
The only question I have, do you currently have a dancing permit
Not dancing, entertainment.
Entertainment, I mean, excuse me.
Entertainment, yeah.
You do have an, oh,
Yeah, an entertainment license, yeah. We don't really have any entertainment right now, but we're considering doing like singer-songwriters on Friday nights, things like that, not like dancing and anything like that.
I just want to make sure that wouldn't interfere with the alcohol license.
Having an entertainment license?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the current rules, but obviously
Right. Well, yeah,
revised
we have
rules
to
are
go by
coming
the
later
current rules
today,
right
which
now,
would,
though.
that allow that if we adopted them.
Right, but we have to, right now, we have to go by the current rules,
Yep.
and if,
So there's a
Right.
restriction on it.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Mr. Manager, is there any comments on your end?
No, we have 3 recommendations, the chief of police, the Board of Health, and the building department all give positive recommendations for this approval.
Okay, and as it is a public hearing, is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this all alcohol license? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing.
no, Jason.
Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Palmer? Mr. Gawa, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, the public hearing is closed, but Mr. Palmer, go ahead.
No, I was just going to make a motion to accept.
Okay, so there's a motion to accept the all alcohol license. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Maselli. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
That would make 6.
There you go.
Good luck.
6-0.
Yeah,
Thank you.
best of luck.
Good luck.
Wish you
Thank
the
you.
best of luck.
When do you intend to, just curious, when do you intend to start serving?
Yeah.
As soon as we sign it.
Great.
Tomorrow morning.
Great next step.
Great.
Best
Great.
of luck.
Well, thank you very much. Good luck.
Good luck.
Continue, good luck with the business.
Thank you.
Okay, we're a couple of minutes early, but we have a 7:15 appointment with Patrick Giroux, Chairman of the 4th of July Committee, regarding a public hearing on the request to conduct a carnival in conjunction with the 4th of July festivities. Before we start, I'd just like to offer a motion, if anyone would offer a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Gilwar, is there a
Second.
second? Second? Any discussion? All in favor of opening the public hearing? Mr. Giroux, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here on, I think, one is one of the final nights of this building.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
thank you very much. The Wilmington 4th of July Committee is coming up on our 47th year of conducting community celebrations in Wilmington. I don't think that many of our events need much of an introduction, but by broad overview, the Wilmington 4th of July Committee exists to produce community celebrations in Wilmington. We actually sub-branded ourselves last year, calling ourselves, Wilmington Celebrates, event series, a division of the Wilmington 4th of July Committee to really encompass everything that we do. So I know the purpose of this public hearing right now is for the carnival. Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, I would like to take it out of order just to run through the events really quick and then loop back on the carnival.
Sure.
So tonight's meeting is really to just get approval for all 3 of our events throughout 2026, commencing with Fun on the 4th, moving on to Fall Fest, and then the Wilmington Holiday Tree Lighting. So starting with the 2026 Fun on the 4th, we are targeting June 24th through June 28th, 2026, with the rain date of June 29th. The carnival will operate on Thursday, June 25th through Sunday the 28th. Hours will be pretty similar from last year, although I will go into the carnival permit in a little bit more depth in a moment. We do anticipate this year's Fun on the 4th to be pretty similar to previous years. We will open up with what we call Wilmington Night on Wednesday evening. That night does not feature the carnival. It's a night for Wilmington residents by Wilmington residents with some soft family programming. We anticipate having the laser show return again this year. That was a big hit last year. We debuted that last year as a great way for sensory entertainment for folks that may not enjoy loud booms like fireworks. So we're hoping to do that again on Friday evening. Family Day on Saturday with Family Day fireworks that evening, and then the big fireworks on Sunday evening. As this is the first time I'm in front of the community to talk about Fun on the 4th, I will say that the committee is deep in the planning stages right now. Tariffs are a major concern for Fun on the 4th this year. One of the largest components of our celebration is the fireworks. Fireworks are imported from China. We secured our deposit far earlier than we usually do, and we started our negotiations with the fireworks company, which is a local company, much sooner than we usually do to try and get ahead of some of these tariffs. So, point being, the fireworks might be a little different this year. I'm hoping for similar shows as previous years, but I don't want to disappoint anybody. Just knowing that the cost of fireworks are almost double from what they were this time last year. So anyway, Fun on the 4th should have a pretty similar picture as it did last year. We anticipate another great celebration. We certainly appreciate the town's support with all the municipal resources. That is Fun on the 4th. So we'll move on to the carnival request in a second, but moving on to our next event in the fall, which we coined Fall Fest. This will be the 4th annual, Saturday, September 26th from 9 to 5, similar time frame as last year, with the rain date of Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Event layout will be the same as last year, Town Common in the Swain School parking lot. It'll be pretty similar with vendors, community activations, tons and tons of family programming and entertainment. And we will likely be back in front of this board at the new town hall, probably in the springtime, to talk about the one-day alcohol permit once we get to the final planning stages. The committee likes to get a lot of the Fun on the 4th planning over with during the winter. We move on to Fall Fest in early summer, so at that point, we'll be back for the alcohol permit. Our final event of the year, which wraps everything up, it's a nice way to celebrate the season. An event we just celebrated recently is the holiday tree lighting. That'll be Saturday, December 5th from 3 to 8 p.m. We do not have a rain date for this event. The event will take place on the Town Common in the Swain School parking lot. It should feature similar elements as it has in the past. As part of these requests, I am seeking permission to use town property for all 3 events, in addition to placing signage throughout the Town Common, to place signage on the Town Common 1 month prior to all events. And then we'd also like to restrict hawkers, peddlers, and transient vendors. As this board knows, all of our events feature local community booths and local community activations that we like to maximize their potential. So if we are able to limit outside exposure, such as ice cream trucks and hawkers and peddlers, from a 1/2 radius of the town, a 1/2 mile radius from the Town Common, that certainly benefits all involved. These 2 requests, the signage and the restriction, were granted last year when I was here in front of this board as well. Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you want to take a vote on these events right now, and then I can move on to the carnival permit, or if you want to vote all at once.
Okay, well, first, I'd like to find out if there's any comments from our members.
Yeah,
Mr. Gilroy?
just curious why you picked that week and not the week of the 4th. I know it's
There's a
Saturday.
myriad of reasons. I will say the committee has done Fun on the 4th during the week of the 4th plenty of times in the past. We have also done it the week before, and we've done it the week after. What we have found with historic numbers is that participation levels are much higher the week before, since more folks are around, versus the week of the 4th of July, most folks go away. I will also say that we are a mighty team of 7 people that fundraise year-round for this event. And when you have an event on a holiday weekend, your costs are significantly higher. Fireworks, for example, are much higher when you shoot on the actual holiday versus the week before. We're able to bid a lot more services versus limit yourself for the holiday. I'm not saying we're going to stay away from the 4th forever, but that's just the model that's working really well right now. That's what the committee chose. And there's a whole multitude of reasons, but I think ultimately the participation levels and the monetary reason is one of the largest factors.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Mr. Manager?
No, I just had a quick question. In the Fun on the 4th event map, it shows a delineation on the of basically the student section of the parking lot and the green and the town hall section of the parking lot. Is there going to be is the plan to leave enough parking for town hall to stay open?
Yeah, so I'll
I'm not saying that needs to be a yes.
I was
Extra
going to
week's
talk about
vacation
that
for
in a
us.
second, but of course, we're faced with the new reality now of operating this event with a new structure in the parking lot.
Sure.
It's something we've been planning for years. And we'll, of course, work with your office and the various town departments to make sure the layout is in such a way that we can operate town hall and operate the event. for all of our events, whether it's Fun on the 4th, Fall Fest. They all require setup, they all require tear down, they all require day of operation. But
Right.
our plan is to really get a better map once Town Hall is operational, and it's pretty much in my eyes operational now in terms of seeing what the layers are. We now have traffic islands in there. We have lamp posts that we need to avoid with taller items. And of course, we have the parking. So we'll work with your team to make that happen.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other comments from the board? One question that I have, Pat, is that the parking, have you talked to the school side about parking in the high school parking lot? Or have you got
Yeah,
any
so my
approvals yet, or?
Yeah, so kind of the order of operations, how we do this programming is we get the permit in hand from you guys. We then go to the school department, which has already received a soft notification from me back in the fall, letting them know what our tentative dates are for our programs for the year. And then once we receive the final permits from this group, we let the school department know that these are the dates. If there's any conflicts, they let us know. A lot of the athletic programs have not been set yet, especially for
Right.
the fall. So we work with them. The committee actually has signage on the ready that we deploy in the parking lot if that lot is to be closed for the day for various school programs.
Okay. As it is a public hearing, is there any member of the public that would like to be heard on this? Step forward. Come on down. You could just state your name and address for the record, and
135 Middlesex. Hi, Patrick. I just have a few concerns this year for the thing. While we always enjoy the events, we also ask that they respect us as abutters. And you can't get much closer than we are. And I was sort of hoping to be across the hall at the new town hall tonight, but it's easier this way. But for 9 years, the carnival's been in the current location, with the exception of 2024. There's a request for carnival hours, setup and breakdown, and number of rides has always been listed and approved by each board that has given the permit. In 2024, there was no request for a number of rides, and that has continued the past 2 years. And last year, with limitations of space, there were only 12 or 13 rides. And the past boards have always said a 50-50 split of kiddies and adults, which is a nice thing to do. And the upper limit has been as many as 16, which seems an adequate number for a small town event. And we think it needs to be part of the permit going forward. The request for an overnight breakdown to extend until 2 a.m. began in 2024 and continued last year. The rationale that I was given for the later cleanup was that it would allow the vendors to pack up and remove everything that night. That was not successful last year. And in 2022 and 23, when they were limited to 11 at night, there were workers well beyond the permitted time. I can't speak for 2024. It wasn't in my neighborhood. It was well past 3 a.m. last year when there were still workers and trucks operating. And the Swain parking lot was used as a storage depot until July 5th, 4.5 days after the carnival. And if the equipment isn't going to be gone as suggested, then it doesn't seem necessary to me that they need to work overnight. And there have been violations of the permit often, which is a breach of the trust that you have given to them. And since there are no penalties for not following the permit. This year there was yet another new request, and I don't know if any of you noticed it. This one is for drop-off 24 hours a day for 5 days prior to the carnival. In the past, it has been set at midnight, that there can be no deliveries after midnight. While there is no bylaw in town, the state does have a noise ordinance from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m., which is identified as a quiet conversation rainfall. It's 50 dBA, for your information. Trucks coming in all night would disrupt the neighborhood, and we respectfully request that this board continue the limits that have been used since the carnival's been in this particular location. We have just lived with all the town hall construction, and that, while loud at times and truck traffic all the time, did not keep us awake at night. We are older, as are others in the neighborhood, and many have small children who rightfully are excited about the carnival, but also need to be able to sleep at night without interruption. So while we enjoy the events and the activities, and we understand that there is time and necessary to build things, we also would ask that they respect us as abutters. Thank you.
Mr. Zor, do you have any comments on the questions? Or comments on the
I'd
comments?
like to dive into the carnival permit in a moment where I think a lot of those concerns will be addressed.
Okay. Let me just ask, where it is a public hearing, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak? Okay, is there a motion then to close the public hearing?
I think,
Do we-
I think
we-
we have to keep it open if
It's gonna start Carnival.
Pat's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Continue then, Patrick. Sorry.
Thank you. All right, so I just went over the events, the dates, the various things there. Now for the carnival permit. So the carnival this year, we anticipate using the same vendor as last year. They are a local Wilmington family who employs many local, folks, whether it be folks working the event or supporting the event in various capacities. We do anticipate using the Swain lot for the carnival once again. And the carnival days will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the rain date of Monday. The hours are pretty similar to last year. We did reduce Friday by a half hour. Last year, Friday closed at 10:30 p.m. This year, we're closing it at 10 p.m. So in some areas, we are reducing some of the hours just slightly. We anticipate a very similar split as we have in years past. This is a family event, so there's no need for all large attractions. There needs to be a healthy split between, kiddie rides and what the industry calls major rides. So we do anticipate a 50-50, or as at least close to it as we possibly can. The committee does contractually control the rides that come in and the number that come in. The way that the carnival is designed in conjunction with public safety. So the carnival vendor has to meet with the fire department weeks and months and days leading up to the event to go over their maps. I give you a very rough sketch. They have to give an exact number, and they have to give an exact layout. The overall design of any carnival in the state of Massachusetts, according to the fire marshal, is that you need to be able to get various fire apparatus in that area at all times. So there needs to be travel lanes for that equipment. There needs to be emergency egress lanes. So there will never be a time when the area is jammed to the point where you cannot get equipment down there. The fire chief walks the carnival several times before it opens to make sure that it is set up in a way. There has been plenty of years where stuff gets moved because it needs to fit the various requirements. So it is set up to the highest degree possible that it is a safe environment. We are seeking, as Ms. Crooker stated, a different layout, a different schematic this year with the equipment drop-off and setup. Just the equipment drop-off. So in years past, this permit really dates back to the Board of Appeals. I think you're all familiar that it came in front of town meeting several years ago to amend the way that carnival permits were done in Wilmington. It was previously done through the Board of Appeals. I petitioned and sought that this permit get put in front of the Select Board. And the Board of Appeals was always very strict with how the carnival was set up, how it was torn down, and how it was delivered. So this year, I am seeking that the carnival can deliver equipment 24 hours a day. It is very abnormal in the industry, in fact, anywhere in Massachusetts from any carnival permit that we were able to extract to have set hours for delivery. And when I say delivery, it is simply an 18-wheeler coming in, dropping a piece of equipment and leaving. It is no different than a vehicle going down Middlesex Ave, at any hour of the day or night, passing through. Most of the equipment operators are local to this area, so they understand that it's a neighborhood. And we're not talking about 20, 30 loads. I mean, during the overnight hours, it might just be a couple. And the big advantage to having the overnight deliveries is it ensures a timely setup. I won't get into the full kind of behind the scenes for how carnivals work, but there are state inspectors that are assigned to Massachusetts that just inspect carnivals every single day during the season. These inspectors, there's only 2 of them in Massachusetts. They're pretty strained on time. So if we're delaying when equipment can be delivered, then we're potentially delaying when the safety inspections can occur, which can eventually deter the setup time. So we are looking for the deliveries to occur during the evening, so we're not really impacting the actual setup of the event. It's a very standard practice in the industry to deliver during the overnight hours. There's no work that'll occur during the overnight with the exception of the teardown night, which is no different than last year. It goes until 2 a.m. So our goal is to really try it this year. You know, we haven't allowed overnight deliveries in the past. I'd like to try it. And, you know, if there's a lot of concerns from the neighbors, I'm sure we will hear. They all know how to get in touch with the committee. I plan on working with the police as well for these overnight deliveries. So if there's large issues, if there's trucks lingering when they're not supposed to, then we'll address it. Again, we're only talking about a couple of loads that come in during the overnight just to keep things moving. Truck drivers for this industry work during the overnight. So when we're asking them to basically cease operation at 10 or 11 p.m., that equipment is being delivered elsewhere, dropped temporarily, picked up, then brought to Wilmington the next morning. You can see the extra layer that adds on. So this is not, an over-encumbering operation to come in during the overnight hours. Our goal is that this is no more disturbing than a truck passing through at, any hour of the day. So that is basically the equipment drop-off schematic. The equipment breakdown is same as last year. On the final evening, the carnival shuts down at 10:30 p.m. and then tear down will wrap up at 2 a.m. We started that last year. It seemed to work well. I was there right until 2 in the morning. It seemed like most of the operation wrapped up. Of course, you have a large trash cleanup occurring that evening, so the equipment is done being broken down until 2 a.m. You might still have some folks lingering around picking up various pieces of trash. Our goal has been since day one to basically leave the place better than we found it. And if we're able to start trucking some of that equipment out of there that evening, because we can now, because we're allowing 24 operation trucking, we can get some of that equipment out of there sooner, so it's not lingering in the days that will lead on. So you can kind of see the ripple effect when you put these restrictions on trucking. It just adds a lot of layers and a lot of lingering concerns there. Parking, as Mr. Slagle stated, and the overall layout will be finalized as we get closer. We'll, of course, work with town administration now that we're working in a different matter. We do anticipate working with the MBTA as we have the last 3 years to allow satellite parking. The committee, at its expense, rents buses to run folks all throughout town so they can come to the event. Parking at the MBTA station on Main Street is free of charge to those that want to use it. Again, pretty similar layout as last year. I do not anticipate any changes. I know the amusement company actually put some heavy dollars into some new equipment, so we'll be able to see some new rides for the residents. Some exciting rides, I think, both kiddie and adult. And we anticipate a similar event as last year. So in terms of the layout, again, pretty similar as last year. Same number of restrooms, same number of concessions, games, things like that. And I think that's everything I had on the carnival permit. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Is there any questions from the board? Is there any questions from the audience?
Oh, Kevin.
I'm sorry, Kevin, my apologies. Mr.
Hi,
Carragher.
Pat.
Hi.
So if I would imagine that the equipment's going to be moved quickly after the carnival is over, since we're now in an active town hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to stay there for days after. I know the past couple of years, when I've driven by it, there's been the big trailers have been out there, and I know they try to get them out as quickly as possible, but
Yeah.
you're going to have to be concerned with that with, I mean, I know it's a big parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll have business operating, so it can't be there, right?
Yeah, as of Monday, unfortunately, we'll be back to
Yeah,
back to work, and and that's
maybe in the future, we ought to think of some sort of a way to get them to, we light a fire under them to move those,
those big trucks.
whatever the penalty might be, but maybe think about that in the future. Let's give them a test run this year, and
Yeah.
maybe next year to see if they can get that equipment out of there sooner than later. My concern too is damage, Patrick. You mentioned we have new light poles up and new curbing and everything else, and I'm afraid, if a truck just backs up and nicks a light pole, and now it's this way, now it's that way. How are we taking care of that? I know it says that there's insurance, the carnival vendor is required to provide satisfactory proof of insurance, but how does that, is that also for damage to property?
Yes, that would cover the property damage.
And the town of Wilmington is listed as an additional insured.
Yeah, so
It's
any
actually a
losses that we
requirement.
would suffer would be covered by that insurance.
And what was the, I don't have last year's contract, what was when the moving, the drop-off ended at what time?
I believe it was around,
Was it a 2
it
AM
was-
drop-off?
no, I believe it was around 11 PM we ceased trucking.
11:30.
The hours of setup and tear down are the same, it's just the trucking that's
That's
different.
probably my biggest hangup, that 5 days, 24 hours. I would like it to stay the way it was. I'd even move it a little bit to midnight if you wanted that extra hour, but to go 24 hours. And I understand 2 inspectors and you're gonna be in and out and the whole bit, but it does go through a residential.
Sure. Yeah,
road. I just, I see where you're coming from, and I hear the residents as well. And
Sure.
I think I'd rather not make it 24 hours.
yeah, and
That's me personally.
sure, and I'd say we're not setting up a Six Flags here. We're setting up a carnival in Wilmington. We have a handful of rides, we have a handful of support trailers, we have some concessions. I think the word 24-hour trucking does sound scary because it sounds like you're going to be utilizing all 24 hours. I mean, we're talking about, a limited number of trailers that are coming in and out. I don't think it's going to be as noisy as an operation as it sounds. I've seen them operate in similar towns that have, the other that permit the 24 hours, and it's not a huge nuisance, whether it's residential, industrial parks, and that's why I'm asking this board, let's try it this year. And if there's a big concern, let's come back to the table next year and let's impose that time restriction. This is an area of town that sees a lot of trucking during the overnight hours. I've spent a lot of overnights at the town common with all these events, and I see the trucks going by at all hours of the night. I really don't think this is going to be any different than any other truck going by on Middlesex or Church Street.
Couple of questions that I have, Patrick, is that one, as far as when you're saying trucks picking up, dropping off, I mean, once the carnival's set up, what are they really doing at that point?
We're really, so, if the carnival opens on Thursday, we're really talking about Sunday, Monday. Those are the heavy delivery days, daytime, evening hours. Once everything is there, positioned into place, they have a restriction on setup time. That's not changing. Setup and breakdown can be noisy, which is why there's some limitations on that. But the deliveries, we're not talking heavy deliveries during the overnight. I think, the pizza truck might come by overnight to stock up the freezers or something, once the carnival's operational. But in terms of heavy deliveries, that's really done by the time it's set up.
Right, and I would assume that you guys, your committee saying to the vendors, guys, if we approve this, you really got to be on your best behavior, so to speak, to minimize anything, because otherwise, when if this get approved this year and there's problems, it's probably not going to happen next
Sure.
year or future years.
Yeah, no, I'm acting on behalf of this vendor or another vendor that we may select in the future. This is not atypical for this particular vendor or another vendor. This is just an industry norm because this is when the workers act, or I'm sorry, when the workers work for this business. And they all understand, especially this being the first year, trial year. If it becomes a heavy, noisy operation, then it's done. This is my town. This is their town. We want to respect the neighbors. I'm sure you all know that some of the owners of this particular carnival that we have actually live in the neighborhood. So they know just as many neighbors as I do from, running this event for the last 11 years.
And one question I actually have of the manager, where you're talking about using the swaying green, where basically we've dug it up, we've basically re-landscaped and made, hopefully by spring it's going to look really nice. I mean, is there any issue that we can't use the swaying green because of aesthetics, or, I just want to make sure that if we're using it, that it's put back exactly, as we got it, as you got it.
I think as the swing green has been used by the carnival in the past, I don't think there's any concern about it being ready and up and rolling by the summer. If it was something that was going to happen next month,
Right.
I would be concerned that there'd be some damage. But I think by the summer it should be
Okay.
fine.
Sorry, any other questions?
Patrick, how does the trucks come in? Do they come down, say like off of 93 and down 62 that way, and then when they get to the top of the common, they take a right to go on, or do they come down 38 and then on to Middlesex and up that way? Because it seems, past the Rotary Park.
Yeah, I'm
You know?
guessing they're coming off 93, so the closest way would be 62. They could be coming off of 38 as well. I'm not sure. It all depends on the stop before. So, whether that stop is north or south, that's where a lot of the equipment's staged. They actually keep a lot of equipment on Woburn Street as well. They lease a space over there, so some of it may be getting pulled over from Woburn Street. Again, it all,
Keep me awake then.
well, let us know how it goes.
And is there any comments from police, fire, or any at this stage, or?
I don't. Yeah, so the
Yes,
police
they
and
signed
fire
it.
have signed off
Yeah,
on
they
the,
have.
on the actual permit, yeah.
Page 4.
Just before the map.
Any further comments from the audience? Okay, that said, I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Ms. Maselli, is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary, I guess, all right.
Oh.
Mr. De Palma? Any discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Closing the public hearing? Okay. Okay, public hearing's closed. Any discussion from the board on this matter?
I just have a problem with the 24-hour drop-off.
Is there any way to to minimize that at all, Patrick, or?
Well, that's what they do now.
All I'm asking is let's try it this year. We are not talking about an extremely large-scale operation. I am fairly confident the neighborhood saw more during the construction of across the street in several months than they will for this particular event. Again, we're not talking about the entire midway coming in overnight. A lot of it's going to come in during the day. It's just select pieces of equipment that I think will be more beneficial to come in overnight to keep things on schedule and keep things going.
Okay.
But
But I think, you just really need to, if we approve this, I think you really need to work with the vendor and say, as quiet as possible and as
Yep.
minimal, especially when you get into that, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when people are, are sleeping.
sure.
If not earlier, but I'm
Yeah.
just,
I can say with utmost confidence, all eyes will be on this year to see how this goes. If there's any issues, we'll be back at this table next year with the amended hours. And we'll work with public safety, in our several meetings that we have with the police. This will be one of the top priorities to just monitor the area, let us know what's going on. Myself or a designee will probably also be there to see what's going on, and if there's issues, we'll address them.
yeah. Because again, we have public safety working around town, but this is, I don't want to call it a private event, but, there's only so much monitoring we should be paying for a private.
Sure.
for
I
the-
don't anticipate a detail officer there
Yeah.
by any means, but if there's noise complaints or things like that, then, I'm one of the first calls that happens when there's an issue down in this area during an event like this.
Okay.
Mr.
Kara?
Chair.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Ms. Maselli?
I was just going to say, and nothing's going to be put together overnight. It's just going to be a drop-off, like you said, of supplies or
Yep.
a trailer or
Trucks
something.
drop,
Kinda- drop and
drops the
go.
trailer, the truck leaves.
Yeah,
The
thank
setup is only permitted during the permissible hours.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Kyra, did you?
No, I was just gonna say, I get that sense that it's gonna pass. So I'm counting on you, Patrick. So,
Well, let me know if you have any trucks rolling by on Woburn Street that are waking you up.
take a look at it for next year.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, is there a motion to approve the carnival permit for the 4th of July committee?
So moved.
Mr. De Palma, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Maselli, any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks,
5-0.
Patrick. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I think
Patrick.
we need to vote on the dates.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry, the
dates.
dates.
Sorry, don't
I
wanna,
know we weren't.
Can't have a carnival without the dates.
gotta vote on the dates.
Anytime you want.
Mr. De Palma, would you amend your motion?
No, I
to-
think we just have a separate one.
Oh, second, all right. so
Separate
this-
motion to approve the dates for the fourth Fall Fest and Holiday
Okay.
Tree Lighting.
Okay, is there,
I'll make a motion to approve the dates.
Ms.
Second.
Maselli, Mr. Gawa, any discussion? All in favor?
5-0.
And just to formalize this, can we also just have the vote on the signage and the restriction on hawkers, peddlers, and transient vendors?
So moved.
Ms. Maselli?
Second.
Mr. De Palma, any discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay. We have a permit from Ronnie Gallon,
Got him?
Ganem. Mr. Donuts, LLC, DBA Heavenly Donuts, request to obtain a common victualler license for property located at 579 Main Street. Sir? How are you? Good afternoon. If you could just state your name and address for the record?
My name is Ronnie Gannum. Personal address is 20 Beacon Drive, Merrimack, New Hampshire. The address of the property is 579 Main Street.
Okay. And you're here for your common victualler license?
Correct. Just purchase the property or purchase the business and keeping everything exactly the same, just LLC changes, that's all.
Okay, is there any comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion to grant the common vic license?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. De Palma, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gaywar, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to Wilmington. Okay. Okay, we have a application for appointment. Brian Veloza, potential appointment for the Board of Appeals. Is there a motion to appoint Mr.?
He's here to. he's
Oh,
here to-
Mr. Veloza, come on in. Sorry, my apologies.
Thank you for your time this evening. Really just here to.
If you could just state your name and address for the record, and then we'll.
Brian Veloza, 3 Wakefield Ave.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening. I'm really just here to represent myself and kind of give a background, about myself. I'm Brian Veloza. I grew up here in Wilmington, lived here since. I graduated from Shawshing Tech in 2016. I went straight into the trades, and shortly after I went to college to study engineering. I graduated in 2021, and since then I've been a full-time engineer. And during this period, I also went out and studied and I got my builder's license because I have a strong passion and desire to build real estate and get involved in the community and see where that kind of future leads me. So I started doing multifamilies and I started to get into new construction single-family homes. So currently, I'm building a home here in town with the hopes to hopefully continue this full-time as my full-time career. I believe my experience gives me hands-on. My experiences give me hands-on experiences with building regulations, local zoning codes, building codes, and kind of some of the issues that residents have during their building permits and trying to get them approved and everything else. It is for that reason why I'm here today with my experiences that I believe I can offer suitable and good input that offers the residents, a fair based input for the permits and such.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments from Mr. Veloza? Veloza, excuse me.
That was great.
Straightforward.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good to me.
Yep.
That said, is there a motion to approve his application for appointment to the Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion made by Mr. De Palma, second by Ms. Maselli. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you volunteering your time.
You realize what you're getting yourself into, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have Joe Maselli, Chair, and Suzanne Sullivan from the Economic Development Committee regarding proposed changes to the Select Board rules and regulations regarding alcoholic beverages. You could just state your name and address for the record, sir, and
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Maselli, 25 North Street. Good evening, Happy New Year. Great to see you all.
Happy New Year.
I did have a presentation for tonight, Mr. Chair. I don't know if we could get that up on the TV screen, if that's possible. If not, I believe you all might have it in your, with you.
Never seen it.
We weren't,
If not, it's fine.
we can do tabletop. I guess we didn't, did you ask the town to, or,
My bad.
okay.
Here, let me just pull it up so I can just kind of follow off of it and make sure I can hit all my points here. And
Sure.
you all have the
Yeah.
rules and regulations.
Yeah, we have both.
The PowerPoint too, I think.
Yeah.
We have the PowerPoint.
Great. So tonight I am representing the Economic Development Committee on a project we've been working on for, I would say, most of 2025. So it took many nights to get us to this point tonight. So I'll go over and kind of just going off the slides that you have in your packet, why we're doing the update, the process we took to take the update, and then we'll go over the major changes, the additions, and anything we took off the current rules and regulations. And then I'll walk through some comparisons, because we did some benchmarking with other communities as well. And then we'll talk about a kind of coinciding warrant article that would go with these rules and regulations, and then I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may have tonight. So just for those watching at home, the Economic Development Committee's been working since April of 2025 to essentially revise the alcohol rules and regulations, which are administered by the Wilmington Select Board. So for anyone, any business in town, whether they're existing or new, seeking to get a liquor license, the Select Board administers those rules. So in 2020, the Economic Development Committee did a survey with residents, and it was clear that they want more restaurant options, more beverage options, more entertainment, and more. And the rules we have right now for our rules and regulations, they're uncompetitive and they're dated when we're looking at us versus our neighboring towns. And I've been picking on Treehouse for months now, but as an example, if Treehouse wanted to come into Wilmington tomorrow, the way our rules are written, they could not come into Wilmington, given their menu and how they operate with their food, et cetera. Our rules and regulations also don't offer for any brunches. So if I wanted to do, like, I know brunches are becoming increasingly popular, where I'll use Tavern in the Square, for example. In Burlington, they have a brunch menu, they have beverages, like alcoholic beverages, brunch menu, et cetera. And the seating requirements we have in our rules and regulations are also quite burdensome when you look at Wilmington compared to other towns. The rules and regulations for liquor licenses within clubs and function rooms were last updated in 1972. And for restaurants, they were written in 1972 and amended in 2000. So it's been quite a while since they were updated. And it's also important to realize the context in which those rules were written versus how society is now. So that's just another reason we kind of took on this project. And these rules and regulations that we are going to be asking the board to support would also allow for new breweries and distilleries in town, because right now there are no rules and regulations for those types of businesses that would be seeking to open. And for existing businesses, this would give them an opportunity to expand beverage options, their hours, and possibly their menu as well. So just to kind of give the board a overview of how this process went. So we started, like I said, in April of 2025, and essentially this took a lot of our time with each econ meeting. We met, I would say, probably once every 1 to 2 months, and it was a really great group effort. I mean, we had great participation from our committee. Everyone gave suggestions, ideas for additions, deletions, and we also had a kind of working group within our committee to work on this more consistently over the summer. So I want to give my thanks to Ms. Sullivan and Selectman Girwar and myself, who were on this working group. There were several summer nights we spent just quite literally going through the current rules and regulations by every word, every line, and just making sure we could get everything right throughout this process. And throughout the summer and the fall, I met with other parties such as police, fire, the director of public health, and town council, just to make sure we were dotting our I's and crossing our T's here. And there are many drafts of these rules and regulations, so this was not done overnight. There were a lot of different drafts of these rules and regulations that we undertook. So moving on to the major changes that you're seeing in these new proposed rules and regulations. One major thing we did was simplified the food and kitchen requirements for restaurants, because right now, I'll go a little more into it, but they are quite burdensome depending on a restaurant's menu offerings or just a restaurant's kitchen size. So we attacked that head on as one of the first things we wanted to change. Another thing I'll talk about more later on is the updated seating requirements for restaurants. I'll get more into that too, but that was another thing that stuck out pretty quickly to us. There were some fee updates as well, fees to be paid by restaurants, clubs, function halls. We also combine club and function room regulations, as you'll see in your packet, into one rules and regulation set, just to kind of make everything simpler. We also, as I said, created rules and regulations for any breweries or distilleries that would want to open here in town. And overall, kind of like I was saying, we really took the time to do a lot of formatting and simplifying the language as well. And I want to give credit to our vice chair, Christopher Villatoro, who did a lot of that simplification. So I want to thank him as well. So some notable additions to these rules and regulations. One thing we noticed a lot, and I'll give Mr. Girwar credit here, is a lot of towns have a last call rule in their rules and regulations. So we added that, and it would be 30 minutes prior to closing time. That's pretty commonplace whether you go to a bar, wherever. And we kind of wanted to add that aspect of safety as well for consistency and just to kind of give that guarantee of safety for the public and also restaurant owners. For another thing we added was the clearing of tables must be done 30 minutes after closing time. Once again, it was kind of a benchmarking thing, something we found to be common and just another aspect of safety we wanted to bring in.
Am I late? I thought it was 8.
We're early.
We started
We're early.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They were going too quick for us.
Excuse me a sec, Suzanne, if you would, just for the record, if you could give your name and address and then continue.
Sure. Suzanne Sullivan, 60 Lawrence Street.
Thank you.
So those were some of the things we added to the rules and regulations. And then some things we took away. There were, in the current rules and regulations for restaurants, there is a restriction on where patrons can drink. And now it's more determined on a case-by-case basis, because one thing we learned is obviously restaurants, they all have different floor plans, different types of cuisine menus. So we want to be more accommodating to the different sizes and scopes of these businesses. Another thing we definitely took away right away is there's currently a dancing ban in restaurants. So if you have a liquor license and you are a restaurant here in Wilmington, you cannot dance.
No, I can't.
I don't think that's been enforced, but I want to enforce
Footloose
that.
rules.
But that was taken away pretty quickly. And there, as I kind of alluded to earlier, there were some confusing and kind of prohibitive kitchen space requirements for restaurants. So we wanted to kind of take those away, not to make things easier. Well, we do want to make it easier, but there was just some ambiguity within the current rules, and we wanted to make it easier for existing restaurants to take advantage of these rules and regulations. So some things to compare and contrast, kind of looking at the next slide in your packet, are some of the bigger changes we'll be making. So for seating for restaurants, for them to obtain a liquor license, you currently need 100 seats. And that's not, you'll see in the current rules and regs, that's not in the current packet, but it's actually dictated by the general zoning bylaw for a general service restaurant. So with our new rules and regulations, we're actually asking to lower that to 50 seats for all alcohol and 25 for beer and wine. And I'll talk a little more about that in a second. We updated the license fees a little bit as well. And for the food as well, as I was kind of talking about previously, right now for a general service restaurant looking to get a liquor license, they must have at least 3 main dinners on the menu consisting of fish or unground meat, no sandwiches or fast food. So yeah, we looked at this one pretty quickly and we're like, all right, we got to take a look here. Because we did, once again, benchmarked other communities as well, and we wanted to make sure we were doing this correctly. So now for restaurants, we kind of broadened the scope a little bit to meals, sandwiches, soups, prepared meals, or salads. And then the hours I'll get into in a second. For the breweries and the distilleries, which obviously there aren't any rules right now, but the ones we're looking to put in place are a 30-seat minimum for all alcohol and then 20 seats for beer and wine. The fees are the same as the restaurants and brew pubs. And then for food, I'm going to use Mighty Squirrel in Waltham as an example. They are a brewery that obviously doesn't have a full kitchen, but to meet Waltham's food requirements for their licensing, they have prepackaged items, they have a limited menu, usually they have a food truck there, and that satisfies the need for food, because obviously if you're serving all that liquor, you want to have some element of food to ensure safety. And then for clubs and function rooms, there weren't as many changes here. There's no seating minimum now, and we're not asking for one. The fees were updated slightly as well, and there's no food requirement either for clubs or function halls right now. They are currently required to have a kitchen space, but in our new rules and regulations, they won't be. So the next slide that you have kind of goes over where Wilmington is with the seat minimum for restaurants relative to some of our neighbors. Some are next door, some are a little bit down 95. But you can see Wilmington kind of sticks out as being a little more prohibitive, if you would. Like, for example, Woburn has 25 and 50 for restaurants, which is what we're looking to match. I'm not saying we have to copy Woburn per se, but this was kind of after benchmarking, I would say at least 10 to 12 different communities on what their restaurant seating minimums were. So we want to make sure Wilmington stays competitive in this area, but also making sure we can invite new business into Wilmington here as well. And then the next slide here is kind of talking about the town meeting warrant article, which would coincide with this project. So as I mentioned earlier, the seating minimum for restaurants, which is 100, is dictated by the zoning bylaw because there is no seating minimum in the current rules and regulations. But if we wanted our new seating minimums to take force, we would need to strike part of the zoning bylaw. So this deletion would essentially ensure there's no overlap with the rules and regulations, as the new rules and regulations would take over the zoning bylaw because there'd be no seating minimum there. So we're kind of switching, if you would, the location of the seating minimum, if that kind of makes sense. And we're asking the select board to sponsor this article for town meeting as well. And this is a separate item from the rules and regulations because this body is hopefully going to accept these new rules and regulations. Town meeting has no say over it. Whereas the zoning bylaw, that obviously has to go through town meeting, the select board doesn't have a say over it per se. So just kind of wanted to make that part clear because I know it's two different things going on at once. But that's kind of the overview. I wanted to make it easy for this board to understand as you are administering these rules currently, but also wanted to make sure the members of the public had a chance to kind of understand our project and how long it's kind of taken and all the work we've done to kind of get to this point. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, Suzanne, but if not, I'm
No, you
happy
did
to
an
take
excellent
questions.
job as always.
Okay, is there any, I'm sorry. Mr.
No. I just wanted to talk a little bit about process.
Yeah.
Before there's any other questions, which is, in order for us to put forward a change to the alcohol beverage licensing rules and regulations, this would need to be referred to a public hearing. I would suggest the first meeting in February, if the board so chooses to have a public hearing, that we just, there'd be a motion that it be put on a public hearing on the first meeting in February. All of the licensees have to be notified of the public hearing, so they have the ability to come, the current licensees have the ability to come and speak on the proposed changes.
Do we know how many current, roughly? I don't know if
How
you-
many licensees do we have now?
We just did that.
Yeah,
Right.
I read them all out.
I know, we just- right? They're in the notes.
A few of them.
They might, yeah, they're the minutes we just
They're in the
passed.
minutes.
I don't
was just
remember.
curious, But that's fine.
26.
2 clubs and 8 restaurants.
Okay, so 10.
Actually, yeah, there's not that many.
And soon to, and now 11 with the code one.
Be approved by the ABCC first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll all have the chance to come at that public hearing. At that time, the board could vote to make the changes.
Okay.
Wanted to
Thank
put
you,
that
thank
out
you,
there
Mr.
for
Manager.
process.
Is there any comments from the,
I have a question.
yeah,
And just because I didn't see this in here, but I don't know, this might be out of the scope of what you guys are doing. I know I've gone, and of course, I'm dating myself too, but you go to a bar and, you know, you're waiting. Let's say I'm at the 99. I went to them, waiting for a table, and I said, oh, let me go get a beer. Can they serve me a beer without me sitting at the bar. I know there are some places that, you've probably seen that, like, they're like, I'm sorry, you have to wait till the seat's opening. I think most places are lenient. I just didn't know if you've come across that and if that needs to be called out or not. Just probably an antiquated thing, but I was just curious.
Well, it actually is addressed, I believe, in the rules and regulations, right? There's a section of it, I didn't bring in my glasses.
Oh, number 7, I guess would
Yeah,
cover it,
food
right?
ser-
Food service shall be available and
All areas and
offered.
seats where alcohol beverages are served except in an
The
approved
waiting
waiting area.
Right, you're right. That makes sense.
So we did address that because it is kind of silly to think.
Right, you can't go and have a beer while you're waiting, you're standing there, it's not like,
Exactly.
okay. That's it,
Okay.
And a
thanks.
lot of other communities around Wilmington were like that too. Woburn used
Yeah.
to be like that because I used to bartend in Woburn, and they had very similar
Yeah.
rules and regulations that we have now. It's just they've changed theirs. We're a little behind.
Any other comments from the, Mr. Gilroy?
I just want to thank the committee for all their work. I saw it firsthand. You know, it seems like something is simple, but it really wasn't. It took a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of back and forth. Specifically, Suzanne and Joe for really kind of leading it. So I
And
think,
you also.
yeah, okay. But it goes without saying, I obviously support these. I think that's pretty obvious since I was part of it. And looking forward to the public hearing.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Mr. Kara?
Mr. Gilroy took my thunder. I was going to thank the committee for such good work here. Does the ABCC need to approve these as well, or look at these, do you know?
No, town council's already reviewed them, and that, but the ABCC doesn't approve local regulations.
And the only question I have, I guess I'm a little confused about it, but under the proposed for club function rooms, and I'm assuming, would that be like the Knights of Columbus, and it says no requirement when it comes to kitchen space. I would think that we would want some requirements, or that we would want those clubs and groups to have kitchen space. No, I mean, because what are you gonna have, a function and just serve alcohol and no food? I mean, I suppose they could bring in food from the outside, but then how is that heated or taken care of without refrigeration and without stoves and ovens? I'm just.
So I guess you could
that's
have
my-
something catered in a hall without actually having to use the kitchen. But also, that would be something that, you know, the board could discuss. I mean, these are all recommendations to the board, so the board could definitely discuss these and talk about concerns and make up your own changes to what you're comfortable with, you know, especially in the public hearing. But I mean, say, for instance, I wanted to rent out, let's just say, the Buzzell. And there's no kitchen space in there, right? The kitchen's gone now. But I could cater it. So would you not be able to sell alcohol there even though you were catering it? So I guess that's the, you know, something to think about, and the board can discuss during the public hearing or even amongst yourselves and how comfortable you are with it. So I just want to remind everybody that these are all recommendations. The board can take them or the board can change them. But these are the recommendations that I think the committee thought were the best way to go forward. But it's all up to, the board is the one that issues these licenses, so it's within your power to do whatever you want.
No, I mean, it's great. I just had that one little thing about the kitchen.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, and we talked about it. We struggled with the private club section, so, and ultimately it's the board that issues the license, so.
Yeah, I think it was because of combining club with a function hall, but for clubs like the old VFW or something that wouldn't have a kitchen, you wanted them to still be able to do it, so that was part of it, is when they combined them, they just pulled it out because of the club side.
Yeah, and that may be something that you need to, you know, kind of massage a little bit to get it where it works, because there is a difference between a club and a function hall, in a way, so, something to think about.
Okay, any other comments? Mr. De Palma?
Again, I've been following along with this right along, and I think you're doing something that Wilmington should have done 10 years ago.
You're being generous.
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20, yeah. But question I have is where you're seeing the consumption of alcohol on an outdoor patio. Are you considering, and I know we still have to debate everything over, limitations to the space that someone would be able to use? Hypothetically, let's use Code 1. They just, apply for their license. They have a large area in front of them. How many seats can they put out? When they can put out? There are going to be restrictions on time. These are just things I have a question for. But overall, I loved your approach. If we want to bring business in, we got to change a little. And knowing people in the restaurant and liquor industry, personal friends, they've always said to me, we're not building a restaurant without booze, in plain English. There's no money in it. But to see this, it's just a new beginning for the town, and again, you're using the 20-year. I was trying to be nice. But, I would be supporting this with some changes. And the question I had was with the outdoor seating, because I know it can become an issue, especially if you're like at the plaza. Discrepancies start with, hey, you don't own this sidewalk, so don't tell me to move. But
I think they would do
these are
that.
things that you have to regulate.
Well, it's under 3.
Right?
It's saying it's prohibited in areas that are not identified on the approved floor plan or expressly approved by this board.
Because I think
Yeah.
they would need to
So we would
go
have to
for a special
approve their
license.
outdoor area, that's all.
Yeah, and also
With their
the number of seating they can have outside, and also would be, is this going to be if the establishment's going to be open till 1? Are we going to allow people to be sitting outside drinking at 1 o'clock? I don't mind it. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is these are things that we do really have to look at before we. But as far as this proposal that you're making, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palma.
A couple of quick questions that I have is that on the seating requirements comparison, I see that you looked at Woburn, Burlington, Wellesley, and Somerville. I mean, I look at Wellesley and Somerville, and I don't see Wilmington in those, and really, to an extent, Burlington and Woburn. What I'm wondering is that, what about the other towns that, that are like Reading, North Reading, Andover, that border us as well?
Yeah, so some towns actually don't have a seating minimum at all, and they rather do it by a case-by-case basis. So that was one thing I did want to add as well. But that would be kind of up to the select board on a case-by-case basis. So we wanted to make something that was more consistent per se, and something that would kind of be more amenable long-term.
Okay. And are there any particular areas of town that you're thinking of focusing on, especially with the brewery? I mean, I don't know if you've kind of, and again, you're not the owners of the, to develop the brewery, but I didn't know if there was any areas of town that you were kind of targeting a little bit. I'd rather, we'd like to put it here versus here or anything like that. And I know part of it, I know zoning is a.
It's all
is a
zoned.
You're talking about the planning
Yeah, I was
board
about to say,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
a
you can
zoning
cover it.
issue that the planning board is taking up right now. And so as part of the warrant, the presentation of the warrant, that warrant article will be something
Okay.
that we'll discuss and we'll discuss the public hearing about, specifically about the breweries.
And there is, I won't name them publicly right now, but there's somebody interested in, off of Ballardvale Street to be able to brew and then have a little tasting, like tap room in the front, which right now they need a full kitchen and all this stuff. So this would allow them to have some food prepackaged or whatever, and then have this little
Food truck.
Food truck, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I just got a concern that we're not opening this up to more, I'll just say the word bars than because I think what people want is they want more restaurant-type options, not necessarily a bar-type setup. But, I mean, some towns have like sports bars and things like that are very successful.
Right, absolutely. And through you, Mr. Chair, to the
Yeah.
manager, I think one other part of the process, I guess, we're still trying to map out is if, say, at the public hearing in February, this passes the board, some changes are made, would this go into effect immediately or at the next year in which the licenses are reissued? Because that's one thing we've been talking about. I don't know if it's fine if you don't have the answer, but that's one thing we've been talking about as a committee. Not that it would change anything fundamentally, but just something we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know about the license.
Has the rules.
License has rules. They've already been issued. They've been renewed. That's a good question. I'll have to check. I think there's an argument that a licensee could make that you gave me the license under these conditions, you're trying to change it afterwards. But also, they get to come to the public hearing and they get to participate. So, but I will have an answer before the public hearing as to whether or not that goes into effect immediately or.
That's all. That was more like
Weren't
I just
really
wanted to
sure.
put it on the radar of the board.
Yeah, I'll certainly find that
Well,
out.
because I think they would want to, they prefer these rules,
Right.
right?
I mean-
Like hours changes, other things, so
Official,
they would
doesn't hinder
want
them.
it.
Right.
I think it would clearly affect someone who applied the day after the public hearing. The question is just whether somebody is grandfathered into the.
Right.
Although I don't know why they'd want to stay grandfathered,
Yeah,
because I don't think there's
exactly.
anything more restrictive in these rules.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah,
I don't know
I
if there
think.
could be something in the rules that would say, once these rules are passed, everybody
It's grandfather.
Yeah,
everybody operates under these rules, but that's a council.
Maybe
Yeah.
they're-
yeah, I'll check. I'll have
Maybe
an
they can
answer. It should
opt
be pretty
into 'em.
straightforward.
Opt-in.
Opt into the
Right.
new rules.
Or they just come back for a, I want to amend my license to get advantage, take advantage of these new rules. I'll find out what we need to do.
Yeah, that was just the one last piece I wanted to mention.
I can imagine if you were saying, I want to roll back the hours to, 9 o'clock at night,
Right, that would be.
every licensee is going to argue that they're grandfathered in and you wouldn't be able to do it to them. So, we're not doing that, but I think the law.
And just so, I too thank the Economic Development Committee and the chair and Jake being on the, the selectman designees and Suzanne and the rest of the members. So thank you for,
Joe
bringing
really
this
did a
forward.
lot of work, so he really, really carried that ball over the line, honestly.
So, thank you. So you, and you had,
One more question?
sure.
Since the chair brought it up, talking about sports bars. Sports bars would be allowed under your new regulations, correct?
So it would depend if they're classified as a general service restaurant or a brewery distillery. It would depend on what class of restaurant and then under the zoning, which one they fall under.
Okay, thank you.
But they just fall under general service now anyway.
Like a Jake
True.
and Joe's or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you could open one now.
Yeah, but we haven't.
All are welcome.
So you had said you had a further comment.
No, I mean, just want to thank you all for having us here tonight. Once again, it's been a project that had many hands on it, so I just want to thank everyone, whether they're on the committee or our law enforcement who were also involved in this project. But we're really excited to see this project kind of come to life. And our committee's going to be working on hopefully a lot more this year as well. So we look forward to working with this board and other boards in town. And just want to thank you all for the time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I
Thanks.
think it would be great if the board took a vote to refer it to a public hearing on a date certain. That way everybody who's listening will know.
Okay. Entertain a motion to have a public hearing. Do you want it to have it the first?
I think the first date in
Meeting in
February,
February?
first meeting in February.
Okay.
I
Is
won't
there-
be here the first day,
Do you want to put it off to the second
second
meeting?
date, yeah.
all right. Is there a motion to put it off,
So moved.
to have it on the second date of?
Second date of
Palmer, or
February?
is- Yep.
I'm just looking.
Mr. Kyra is looking at us.
February 23rd?
Okay, that's 25's calendar.
February 16th.
No,
No, wait a minute.
No, it'd be-
23rd, you're right.
23rd.
Okay.
But is that school vacation week, though?
No, the week before is.
The week
It's the
before is,
fourth.
okay,
It's the fourth Monday.
okay.
Hey,
So, February 23rd.
Mr. Palmer, is your motion for February 23rd?
23rd, yes,
Okay. Is
February
there-
23rd.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, Ms. Maselli, any discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
Although, so one thing related to that
you.
is though, with that timing, is potential warrant article that goes along with it.
Yeah, I was
Because
thinking about
that's
that.
the deadline if the select board wasn't gonna
Well, can't they submit it? and
do
then
it.
if
We,
they
yeah, so,
withdraw?
but the ask was if we would submit it. And by the way, this was brought to our attention from planning. The planning department actually brought it to our attention. We didn't even realize it at
Okay.
first. It suggested that language.
Yeah, so either we can do this a couple of ways. So the select board could sponsor it, the planning board could sponsor it, or just a resident could. So I think just the select board doing it might be the easiest way, just because these rules and regulations are coming from the select board. So I think it would kind of be better to have a one-stop shop, but it's ultimately up to you. We just want to make sure that makes it onto the warrant, so we're not trying to wrestle with this into.
Yeah, but it's
later.
February 6th is
Yeah,
the
February
deadline
6th is
for,
the deadline for that.
For
so.
petitions.
for petitions, so they just need to know if, before then, if they need to do it themselves. So I don't know if we can address it at the next meeting or what.
It is always possible for us to have included in the warrant and then remove it from the warrant
That's what I'm saying.
before we publish it. You guys could vote to remove it from the warrant if for some reason it didn't go forward.
I think that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
It's ready to go. I mean, it's like one sentence, because all you're doing is just
especially with the
striking,
planning board
you're striking
involved
out 3
too,
words.
and-
It's not,
Yeah, it's not a major change.
yeah, but Val already has it drafted, so it's
Yeah.
not, it's no heavy lift to put it on.
Okay. Do we need a further motion on that?
No, because I'll put forward the warrant. You guys
Okay.
are going to vote on it. If you didn't want it
Because
in
then we
there,
can
you would just tell
always
me to take it
remove
out.
it.
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure we covered that. All right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Joe's like, should I get up?
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
I not?
Thank you very much, Joe, for all the work on this.
Thank you.
I saw the emails. I know it was a lot of work.
I'm sure council's tired of me.
Okay, communications manager.
Yes, if it's okay, I'd like to take these out of order because I think the second one's going to be very quick. If you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
So the second one, this is just the move to the new town hall. For folks who are not aware, we have a new town hall that is ready to open. We will be moving into that space starting on Wednesday the 14th, so that's 2 days from now. And that move will go the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th. We have a moving company that is going to be moving all of our departments in this building. We'll also be moving the school administration from the Roman House and from the Art Center building and from other various spaces around town. And our IT department will be moving all of our computer equipment from the different department locations to the new building. For those who were able, we had an open house for the building on Saturday, which I think went over really well. Folks got a chance to get in and take a look at the new building, and we've been pushing it on social media. There was a reverse 911 call that went out to residents, letting them know that the town hall closure. And there's signage if folks have seen it out at the top of the entrance. And then that gives us the long weekend to make sure that everything is up and running and ready to open for folks on the 20th.
Now, for people that drop off things, like I know right now you've got the drop off here, is that going to be shut down?
The drop box is going to stay here and it's going to be checked daily by staff.
Okay.
There's a drop box that is on order for the new building. Once we get that in, we'll likely run them
Parallel.
both for a little while, because I know folks are used to coming here and dropping things off. And once we get the new one installed, we'll put signage here that says,
As of.
you've got 30 days, this will be open for another 30 days, and then we'll shut it down and it will be at the town hall. But in the interim, the treasurer's office will be coming down daily to check the drop box and make sure nothing gets missed.
Okay. Any comments on?
Yeah.
Skyra?
The Dropbox was not installed into the new building at the time it was built?
The Dropbox,
Could have been.
so I think the original Dropbox that was ordered was the wrong size,
Okay.
and so they had to order a new one. It didn't affect the occupancy of the building because it's not a health and safety issue, but it's on order. We expect it to be delivered relatively soon, and hopefully that'll once that will limit the time when we're having to run back here.
So I have a question on equipment. I'm assuming that, probably shouldn't assume, that there's going to be new equipment for the new building. Maybe not, maybe some old, some new, you're taking your desk and, so on and so forth. But there may be some, say those chairs that are out there that won't be coming over because I'm assuming
There are new
are
chairs.
chairs over there.
There are new chairs,
Oh, yeah.
new desks for most people.
I know the historical committee, they want that sign back there, maybe they'll take the blanket and for their displays, right? So for these chairs that are out here that are in good shape, are we going to sell them? And are we going to allow the public to come in, maybe put everything in the auditorium and say $1 a chair, 50 cents a chair, whatever the case may be? I don't know if you have to go through a procurement process.
We have to go through a surplusing process.
but
There is
I-
a process.
I don't want to see good things thrown away and into
So-
a landfill that's not going to.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen. That's absolutely not going to happen. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to live with the building for a little bit.
Because that big TV would be great to watch the football.
Yeah. That's already penciled in for your house, Kevin. Don't worry.
There's $1.50 on it.
We're going to go in, we're going to live with the building for a little while to make sure that there aren't things that have been missed. Like, oh, we didn't realize that we need this. We had it back at the old town hall. So we don't get rid of something we might need in 3 months. But once we're in there and realize that there are things that are left in this building, we'll have to go through a surplus process. The first thing we do is obviously offer it internally to the school department or any other department to see if they needed file cabinets or whatever, anything else that's here. And then we would go through a surplus process. My suggestion would be that we use something like Municipid, which is an online bidding process for municipal goods and services. Like a lot of cities and towns use that. It's like an eBay, but only for municipal goods.
That's fine, I just want to make sure that we're not just discarding things.
No, we're absolutely not.
Give the residents an opportunity to, we can't.
Maybe we can give them that chair that drops.
Yeah.
Give it away.
Falls, yeah. But yes, that we're planning for what we're going to do with if and when there's a surplus and we realize we have extra things.
Okay, any other comments? Continue, please.
Okay, so the second, it's the first communication, but the one we're addressing second is about reuse of municipal buildings. And I brought this up with the board a couple of times at the end of 2025 to talk about if the administration has proposed use for municipal buildings, to bring it before the board to see if that use would be accepted by the board. So this memo specifically addresses 3 specific buildings. So the first is the Art Center building. My anticipation is that the school committee is going to turn that over to the town relatively soon, because it will be vacated as of this week by the staff. It has been spoken about in the past, and I think it makes sense to move the Veterans Affairs Department into that building. It gives them expanded space. They're very tight at the West Schoolhouse. It gives them sufficient parking, which if anybody's ever tried to go over to the West Schoolhouse when they're all there, you kind of have to park in the street. And it puts them in close proximity to the cemetery, where the Memorial Day services are held, and the veterans' graves are that they oversee, and to the common, where they also have all of the monuments and the Veterans Day services, and it provides the space to have individual private individual sessions with veterans.
And
So-
it's handicapped accessible too.
And it's ADA accessible. There was a new ramp that was installed, and so that building, I think, provides the resources that I think that department needs to kind of move forward. So that's first. The second is,
You did say on here that you'd be keeping the West Schoolhouse.
yeah, there's no intention of taking the West Schoolhouse out of active use. We have some ideas. I don't want to go too deep down that road because we haven't discussed them with the department that I anticipate potentially taking over. but the West Schoolhouse we would try to keep in active use as well. The second school building we were talking about was the Glen Road School, this building. The reuse committee during its deliberations had a lot of public feedback on things that the town kind of needed, and one of the things that they had feedback on was a community center. I think, given that this building is going to be vacated, I think as a long-term plan, it would make sense to try to reuse this space as either as a community/rec center. And part is because we have the recreational space immediately adjacent to it. It's got a gym and cafetorium in the center that could be reconditioned as for gym use. We had talks with the Arts Council about them using some of the space here for their programming. It would allow the rec department to have programming during the school year, during the day. Right now, the only spaces that they have available for programming during the day during the school year are the only spaces they have for programming are the schools, and therefore they don't really do any kind of day programming, either kids for adults or for kids or adults. Having access to a building like this would allow them to do that. And there's also sufficient space in this building where if WCTV did decide that they wanted to, partner with the town in leaving their lease and moving into a municipal space, there's enough space here that could be compatible with those other two uses. And so that's the kind of longer-term proposal for this space. Obviously, for the first, for the beginning time when we're over at Town Hall, this will still, have the remnants of Town Hall in it, but as a kind of a longer-term kind of phased approach to phase this space into a community center/rec center. And then the third building was the Buzzell, as was discussed at the end of last year. I went out and did some evaluating with departments as to whether or not there was potential for the use of the Buzzell. And it has become clear as the departments in this building are moving through the moving process, that there is going to be insufficient space at the new town hall for long-term file storage. There's sufficient space for short-term file storage, and there's cages on the first floor for all the departments. But until we have gotten through a significant digitization process in the town, we are still very paper-heavy, and many of the departments in town hall have requirements for permanent record storage. So the proposal would be to use the Buzzell, given its immediate adjacency to the town hall, for long-term file storage. It would provide easy access for those records to be digitized. There's a digitization program that was started last year as part of the capital plan. That would allow us to limit the expenses on the building. You wouldn't need to have an ADA accessible bathroom. You wouldn't need to have an ADA accessible kitchen. We'd still need to do remediation of the hazardous materials in the building, but you wouldn't need to have a full-time custodian assigned to the building if it was it was actively being used by a department. But you'd be used for file storage, and then, as the Historic Commission noted, excess storage for the Historic Commission. We could it would allow us to have access to those files for at least the time that we're doing that digitization. And then, our long-term goal is to, be as paperless as possible. And as those files age out, there could be another evaluation as to what to do going forward. But this would allow it to kind of a minimal impact financially to use that building.
Okay, any comments from Ms. Maselli?
Why can't we just keep the storage here? I find that I'd like to see some numbers showing that would be fiscally the way to go. I don't understand why the Art Center, or the Historical Commission, and we can't just keep the files here. I don't understand why we need to keep a building for storage.
Sure, we could, if, the hope is, if we're gonna turn this into a community center, we wouldn't wanna be storing files in this location. And, you know, proximity-wise, it's not far, but it is, you know, outside of the easy access for files from the departments that are currently in town hall.
I thought that's what the vault was for. When I asked, when I was doing the tour, I said, what's going in here? And it's like permanent file storage of all the
Yeah,
stuff we're
that
gonna
was
be
gonna be my
digitizing.
follow-up, is like, how do we
Literally
build a
what they
new
told me.
town hall without adequate storage?
Well, I'm not sure everybody, including the current departments, realized how many files there are in this building and in other buildings that are required to be kept long-term. You know, that's a, you know, an unfortunate reality of municipal, you know, organizations that haven't, you know, completed digitization is, you know, we've got these files that are required to be kept forever. And the vault will provide sufficient storage space for the town clerk's files that are required for permanent storage, but not for the town manager's office files that are required for current storage, and not for the treasurer's office files that are required for current storage, and not for the,
I still think we could find room here. I just don't, I have a big problem keeping a building and putting money into a building to keep storage, especially where we're digitizing. I mean, I need to see finances or something on that, because I'm not sold that that's the fiscal thing to do. We have this space, no one's moving into it anytime soon. I don't see why we can't carve out space, lock it, you know, regardless of what's going on here.
Mr. De Palma?
Regarding the board to consider the rescinding of the vote to demolish the Buzzell Center. The last time we spoke about the Buzzell Center, I believe the motion was made and passed that we wanted a cost, full cost, and to try to attempt to determine what groups wanted to go in there and what they needed for capability, size. I would recommend, regarding the rescinding the vote for the Buzzell Center, that Buzzell School, that we postpone that until we know what it's actually going to cost us for any form of rehab on the property, and who is going to go in there, which will, of course, address what size we need for inside. But I was a little disappointed to see this in there, where the motion was to have, recommend to the town manager to get prices and seeing what this thing's exactly gonna cost us. Not a, well, it's close to this, close to that, my buddy said this, my buddy said that. That's where I stand on that. And I think we should postpone any type of discussion on it until we know exactly what it's gonna cost us.
Mr. Kyra?
Yeah, and to that point, I believe it was also extended out that if we would go to departments and department heads to see if departments have a use for that, and if not, we would go to a request for information rather than a request for proposal to see if there was any groups, organizations that would be interested in the use of that, the Buzzell School. Now, I don't know, where do I begin? Number one, okay, the arts building. Number two, the Glen Road Community Center, not a bad idea, but there's a lot that goes into that, meaning, how are we funding it? Are we hiring new employees to run a community center? You know, is that in this upcoming budget? You mentioned that we'll be able to run programs during school day now, for the kids. Well, the kids must be in school, right? Unless they're taking the day out of school to come to the community center to have a program. You mentioned the recreation department would be here, because it would be a community center / recreation department. The Recreation Department has a beautiful space at the new town hall, and now we're gonna give them even a larger space here to run their program, so we're gonna give them 2 offices. So they'll have an office in the new town hall, an office in the, for lack of the old town hall. So if I'm a parent and I go to the new town hall, it's closed, go to the old town hall, and I go to the old town hall, no, go to the new town hall, and then there's, you go here, look for one person, they're over there. A lot of frustration I see happening with that. So that's why I feel that if you're going to use this as a recreational / community center, and I think it's a good thought, good idea, that the recreation department be set here. It's huge, right? They have all the fields out back, they'll have plenty of office space. I don't know how many employees they have now, 3, 2? They can each have their own room. This would be the place for the recreation department, if this is gonna be where they're going to be running their programs out of, not having 2 offices, as far as I'm concerned. WCTV, I believe it was mentioned at, I don't know, a meeting or 2 ago, that they had no interest in the Buzzell School. I believe Ms. Maselli said that. If I'm talking out of turn, you let me know. So I'm sure they're not gonna have any interest in this building as well, but it's nice that we offer it to them, because when they say no to us, and then they go and try to put in an article to get money from the residents, where they wanna put in an article where they get a yearly $100,000 from the residents over and above what we give them now, we can say no, because we've offered them some ample space here. As for the Buzzell School, I'm gonna request that the chairman call in the OPM, P3, that the chairman call in the architect, and that the chairman call in the Town Hall and School Committee, that, as well as Consoli, the construction company. I mean, I know you have your budget presentation on the 26th, but let's get them in here on the 26th and find out if in fact there isn't ample storage in a $37 million building that we just built. Let me tell you, I want them to tell the residents that we screwed up and we didn't put enough storage in a $37 million building, so they should come here and let us know if there's not adequate storage. Wow, I was on that committee, and I will be apologizing to the residents but we talked ad nauseum about storage, and they told us that that building is built for 50 years for enough storage and also for expansion of employees. So I think we get them in here and we find out from them why they did that to the residents, that there wasn't enough storage in there. I got so many notes all over the place, I don't know where to begin. The Hardin Tavern, right, they wanna use that. As far as I know, the Hardin Tavern Commission's not a department. We asked to find out which departments needed use of that Buzzell School, not a commission. And if I were on the Hardin Tavern Commission, right, and I had artifacts, and I had, town collections and things like that, I don't think I'd want to store it at the Buzzell School. There's no air conditioning anymore. You mentioned at the last meeting the boiler was taken out. Now you're saying there's no bathrooms, which I didn't realize that.
No, that we
Toilets.
would need to have an ADA compliant bathroom.
Oh, okay.
At a
The
storage.
bathrooms are still there, okay. I think you would need,
The water's off.
you would need,
water.
adequate
Ventilation.
ventilation for artifacts and things of that nature, but if I were on the commission and this becomes a community center, recreation center, and you're offering a room to the Arts Council, I would offer a room to the Historical Commission so they could put displays of all the artifacts that they have stored away at the Hardin Tavern so that we, the residents, can come and see it here. You know, but that's me. Custodial coverage, it says here, it eliminates the unfunded requirement for custodial coverage, but then tonight you said, not a full-time, so that there'll be a part-time custodial coverage. I can't imagine that a union wouldn't take umbrage against saying to them, we don't need custodial coverage in a public building. I'm sure that the union will grieve that. Let me see, heating, air conditioning, bathroom, OPM, forgive me, residents, I have all these notes here. That's it, I just, storage. We have storage right now at the Arts Council downstairs in the basement. If we've ever been in that, it's the old town hall, it's the, downstairs is where the storage is, for both recreation and town hall. And I agree with Ms. Maselli. Why not use this or a room or part of the auditorium for storage for the time being? Especially for archived files that, you know, you're the Secretary of State, I know that there are limitations on archive files. Most of them are 7-year limits, but there are some forever, like certain birth certificates and death certificates and things of that nature. But those will all be digitized. I don't see using the Buzzell School for storage, I really don't. I mean, this would, why move all of the files from here over to there and then move them out of there? I mean, I guess it, you know, that I could find better use for the town employees moving things back and forth and back and forth. But again, this is just my opinion. I think that's it. If I come up with something else, I'll let you know.
Mr. Chair, one more comment. I agree with Mr. Kyra that, you know, and Ms. Maselli, that we have to make a determination on this storage facility. But we also have to look in the future, too. And what is the future? The future is that we're building a new school. And when that school is completed in 3 years, we are going to have another building that hopefully the school department will turn over to the town for, because they won't be using it. And that's the Woburn Street. I envision that the Woburn Street would be a great place for a community center. But no matter what, it's another building that we have coming up. So we should be addressing future buildings that will be open and vacant for the town to use with what they want to use it for. That's all. Thank you.
Any other, Mr. Gaywell?
Well, first of all, I agree with Selectman Kyra's points on that, and you guys, I don't think it should be used for storage. What we're talking about digitizing, though, I know it's not really the topic here, but I was told it's going to take 5 to 6 years to digitize, which seems unacceptable in my head. I mean, it was probably 8 years ago, and I know it's less files. I did it at work with technology from 8 years ago, and it took months.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, and I definitely don't want to be spending any money for that. If you're going to be spending money, pay a company to come get it done in a year and just be done with this stuff. So that's a separate topic, but I think we should address that plan because 5 to 6 years is way too long.
To Mr. Palmer's point as well, with the new school, let's not forget to let the community know that we're building a double-size gym too, right? So that double-size gym, which is on the expense of the taxpayer, is supposed to take care of a lot of the recreational needs that you know, are coming down our way. Again, not that this is not a bad idea for a rec and community center. My other big hang-up is the senior center. When is the senior center gonna allow the community to use it at night? Right now, they're not doing that. I mean, they are for the library, but there are organizations that have used the Buzzell Senior Center with the understanding that they made a phone call, the night's available, all you gotta do is pay for janitorial process, and then you can have an event. I know one organization that used to run bingos, it's the Sons of Italy, and they would have a bingo there. Now they tried to get a bingo at the new town hall, the new senior center, and they told, no, there's too many issues going on, but this was back a ways. Now they tried again to try to have bingo again at the new senior center, and yet, again, they're stonewalled. So I'm wondering when it's gonna be opened up, because if we think we've built a $17 million senior center to sit there and do nothing in the evening, someone's crazy. I don't think it's me.
In the weekend.
Because there are groups that want to use that, and understanding it was built in a way, the same way the town hall, is that you cut off the area from the administrative spaces and from the senior spaces that they use, so that you can utilize the dining area and the kitchen area. At the old senior center, there was no cutoff like that. When you went in there to use it, you could go to those areas. Now it is cut off. So, there are sports teams that have end-of-the-year parties. There's Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that could utilize it. There are a lot of different groups that could utilize that at night as a community center. So I'm just wondering when, Mr. Manager, do you know when it's gonna be available for the community to use?
I had a meeting with Terry. We looked at a draft of the policy for public use. She was making some edits, and it's going to be sent out to town council to make sure that it looks okay.
So there's a policy being drafted, regulations.
It's just it's a 2-page policy. It just talks about you need to have things like you said, like you got to pay for a janitor.
Yeah.
It's only for it's proposed for only for Wilmington nonprofit or not-for-profit organizations, not for regular private use.
That's
It's
fair.
just those things that,
Right.
and the security deposit,
Yeah.
in case there's damage. So, and my understanding is that Terry was going to be reaching out to the Sons of Italy about the requested February 7th bingo night. She was going to call John.
Valentine's bingo.
She was going to call. She was going. I thought she was going to call John this afternoon, but we did it at a very late meeting, so it might be tomorrow. She calls John.
Okay, any other comments from the members? A few questions that I have is, this board established a reuse committee. And the reuse committee was to look at all of these vacant, soon-to-be vacant buildings. And are you proposing we dismantle the committee, or have we even discussed with the committee that we're proposing to kind of sidestep them, so to speak, and
That committee was made when the buildings either get turned over to the town or belong to the town and are empty. If there's no municipal use for it, then it would get turned over to the reuse committee. Please correct me if I'm
Yeah, we
wrong.
agreed to that in maybe July.
Yeah.
And I actually,
They don't go to the reuse committee unless it's determined that there's no municipal use for
Right.
it.
Yeah, I came and said, I'd asked if the administration has a use for a building, would it make sense to just bring that directly to the board rather than having
And we
to go
agreed
through
to that,
if we have it,
yes.
and the board agreed.
Summer.
Okay. And in respect to this building, I mean, again, we were kind of told this building's kind of on its last legs of sorts. Single pane window, the heating system's dying, the roof leaks, the bathrooms are kind of antiquated, whatever. I was
Yeah, but
just-
what's wrong with it?
Well, to that point, what's wrong with the Buzzell School? I mean, just to put it back, I mean, I think this building, is probably overall in better shape than the Buzzell. I mean, the Buzzell is, I think, in better shape than this. But that being said, what will it cost to bring this building up to a community center type, like there's no sprinklers here. What do we, what type of cost do you anticipate to bring this building up to speed?
Again, the proposal with this is for a kind of a down the road use.
Okay.
Immediately, it still has all of the town hall infrastructure in it, and so it wouldn't be something that we would be looking at turning over, anytime soon, but as more of a long-term use.
And again,
But you're right, if the town decided that a community center in this location was something that made sense, long-term, there would have to be infrastructure,
Right.
would have to be the windows, the roof,
appropriate the
the
funds.
boiler. Yeah, I mean, that would have to happen if they decided that that's something they wanted to do
Stefano,
long-term.
Yeah, where we do have these buildings coming up, why aren't we also thinking outside the box a little? Public-private. If we can get the private industry together and help us with rehabbing a facility or creating something. What's wrong with that? What if we can save townsfolk some money by starting a fundraiser? Again, we're all talking in long-term ranges, but I look at, as I said before, I look at the Woburn Street School as a big school that's going to need a lot to get it fixed. But what if we could get private industry in Wilmington? I mean, we have a lot of high-end companies in here, and look to see if they'd be willing to donate to a fund to make a community center out of, like a Woburn Street, or this building here. What's wrong with that? Wouldn't it be more practical? And wouldn't the town folks be a little more happy about saying, gee whiz, why not? We see it all the time. It happens in every town in America, for God's sakes. But we sit here and maybe it's just we didn't think outside the box. Maybe it's time we start thinking outside the box a little. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to bring up one thing to an earlier point of Mr. De Palma, which is, for purposes of costs, we do have some cost estimates for things that would need to be done to the building if it's retained.
That's the Buzzell.
The Buzzell, yes. The asbestos abatement comes in at about $143,000 is the estimate. Regulated building materials removal and disposal is slightly under $4,000. So it's $3,875 is the estimate. The DPW had an estimate of $40,000 to do the parking lot, if that needed to be done, if the building was taken down. And the estimate for the building demolition was $109,000.
Again, like I said, I prefer we pass over that and see what, as I've heard, there's different issues with the building that were not addressed. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. I haven't had access to certain areas, and I am not a contractor. And I'm not going to profess I am and then say, oh, I see this and that. I don't know. But I like to find out some things that I have heard, and then we go from there. So if it takes us to March, April, May, whatever the case may be, the building's not going to go anywhere. It's going to sit there until we figure out what to do with it. And if we have enough time to get these costs down and get these costs down accurate, it's the sad part about it is it's a lot more expensive for a town to do something than it is for the private person. So I'd rather us just hold off and get these figures down and then sit down and really address that, especially where we got the Woburn Street, Glen Road here, and we have Buzzell. That's 3 buildings that we're going to have that are going to be empty. whether it's 3 years or 6 months, they're gonna be empty. So let's just take our time a little and see what we have and see what the departments need. And then go from there.
The other couple of comments that I'd like to make is on the Arts Council building, is it ready to move into for the veterans? Is there any money that we need to put into that building, the old town hall or Arts Center, whatever you want to?
Old time. I don't. In my discussions with Dennis Kelly, they did do the handicap access ramp that involved dealing with the entrance to the building. That building was not scheduled for any other large scale capital. I believe that the things that need to be done may be done as in the public buildings operating budget.
And the other thing that I just want to remind the board and the public is that we recently had a special town meeting. And again, we can say, well, the board can knock the building, the five of us can vote, to knock get a majority to knock the building down or not. But I think the residents kind of spoke clear that in some fashion, they want to keep the building up. And they even voted, I believe it was $615,000 that we now have that theoretically is reserved, or legally is reserved for the rehab of the building. So whether it's used as a giant file cabinet or whatever we're talking about, I think that we have that money. And the thing is that for example, the storage of the Harrington Tavern, the historical commission things, I think, we'd have to, get the proper ventilation and proper temperature control. I think, if the building's back up to speed, I think we'd have that, where this building, you got an air conditioner that runs each room, so it's really not, I don't know, if you had the proper storage.
Not very well either, just so. You guys were here in the summer.
My take is that, the town spoke. I mean, whether we can say we got the power, authority, whatever you want to call it, but I think that these people spoke too, and we're 5, and I think we have 247 that voted in favor of keeping the building from that standpoint. So, excuse me just a second, is that, we could utilize it, right, like you say, right now theoretically for storage and digitizing and all that, but as we go, hey, you know what? The historical commission wants to put on some programs there, or a different department wants to use a section of it now that it's lack of, we don't have paper or whatever in there, and things like like the chairs and stuff that we're talking about. Maybe if we need to vacate this building, there could be a lot of at least temporary storage while we're trying to figure out what are we doing with this stuff. So I'm all in favor, like I said, on behalf of the residents, I'm all in favor of keeping this vote to not demolish the Buzzell. If it turns out in the future, if we need to take a future town vote, I mean, my opinion would be is that that vote should actually be a town meeting vote, not the 5 of us voting. But Ms. Buzzell, you wanted to...
I think this goes back to numbers. I think we need numbers because I agree that this building obviously needs work, but it would potentially service 3 or 4 departments where the Buzzell cannot. I also feel that the people at the town meeting did speak, and I respect their opinion, but that did not encompass the entire town. I mean, like at any meeting, it's who shows up. I agree with you. There's no denying that. But I take a little umbrage with saying the town has spoken. The town hasn't, you're encompassing 25, almost 1,000 people.
And 25,000 people could have attended town meeting.
Absolutely, they could have, but they didn't. So when a very small percentage shows up, and again, I mean that respectfully, I'm not, it is what it is, but I'm just saying, you make it sound like,
We've had many a
but
town
this
meeting.
board has the right to make the decision on that center.
But we've
legally.
had many a town meeting where there's been
I agree
50
with you.
people
It's
that have
whoever
taken-
shows up. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's just sense of the way it comes across, that's all. But
Mr.
it's
Chair.
fine.
Sure.
Oh, excuse me.
No, I'm all set.
I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with what Lil's saying. But the bottom line is, let's pull back a little. You got 615,000 allocated for some rehab of the building. Do we know that that's the exact cost? No, we don't. So before we start spending taxpayer money on something that we don't know really what it's going to cost, let's back off a little and get these prices down. And I can't guarantee it, but I think if all of a sudden we're getting prices of 1.5, 1.6 million to rehab the Buzzell Center, the Buzzell building, to make it to accommodate everyone, I think people would come back and go, whoa, wait a minute now, we didn't expect it to be that bad. So what's so hard with just backing off a little? And we've got time. It's not where we have to rush out because we got to buy the building. We own the property. We own the building. We've got, other buildings that are coming due. Let's look and see. And let's get some hardcore figures down. I know even the chair of the Reviews Committee made the comments that these are figures that we got real quick. Are they accurate to the point where you can say, well, if we do all this, we might have to come up with another few dollars? Or is it, if we do all this, we got to come up with another 600,000? No one can tell me that it goes either way. And until someone can say to me, it's going to cost the taxpayers $1.5 million or $1, I don't want to touch the building right now. But I don't want to. But I want discussions on what we have coming. That's all.
One thing I will mention, Mr. DePalma, real quick, and I'll let you, it was mentioned at the special town meeting, one of the petitioners did come out and say, this is gonna be probably a two-phase, discussion. You're looking for $615,000 today, at the special town meeting, to make the building handicapped ADA compliant. And then the petitioner said that they would be coming at a future town meeting to potentially look for more money to make the building, and I think the figure of 1.2, 1.5 was mentioned. And people still voted.
I accept that. But the thing is have we had an engineer, have we had a contractor walk into that building and go, ooh, nope, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you got a crack in the foundation, which is a fieldstone foundation, which is gonna cause major problems. There's a main carrying beam that has a crack in it. We don't know any of these things. And even though you're saying we allotted $615,000 a special town meeting, how are the residents gonna like it if we come back and say, we need another $1.5 million to get this thing to where it's supposed to be? And then who are they gonna blame? They're gonna blame us because we didn't research it enough. So as far as I'm concerned, what we should do is just back off of it. Let's get these prices down. Let's get these figures down on what it's going to cost us to restore the Buzzell Center so it's functional. And then where we have the 615,000, if they come in and say, oh, it's only gonna cost you another 30, 40, 50,000, and I'm just using figures, well, then we know that those figures were accurate. But until then, I think we should have more of more accuracy in the cost of what it's gonna cost.
Well, no. So the understanding that request, that is a much longer time frame. We had talked about getting something back to this board quickly, but that requires the hiring of an architect, the preparing of a scope of work, at the very least, and it may not going through a full solicitation to bid, but they're going to have to. That's more than 30 days work.
Yeah. Oh, understandable.
We're talking about several months' work to hire an architect, to have them evaluate the building, to have them prepare a scope of work, and to get the pricing on it. It's not something that happens overnight.
Oh, that I
I mean,
understand.
even the
wholeheartedly.
solicitation to get an architect is something that is going to take time.
We're dealing with an old building. I live in an old home, and I say, well, okay, I wanted to remodel my kitchen, which I did. got the prices, everything else, until we opened it up. And then when they asked me for another 30,000 because I didn't notice this, that, and the other thing, where am I? I'm over budget. So all I'm asking for is let's get the figures down. And if it comes in and they say it's only gonna cost you 690,000, so be it. But if they come back and they say, well, look, you know, you got 615 now, but you're gonna need another 6 because we found this, that, and the other thing. I'm not a contractor. And if I came out and told you what I've been told, you could call me a liar because I'm not a contractor. I don't know. So I want someone in there that's gonna look at that building and go, this is what it's gonna cost you. And then we can move on from there. But at least the public, you know, the people who are gonna pay the bill will know what it's gonna cost us for that building. That's all. And I
Again,
apologize, but that's,
I was just trying to set
No, I know.
expectations time-wise, that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not something that would happen by our next meeting or by the first meeting in February. It's not, if we're getting that sort of a detailed analysis, that is something that's gonna take, you know,
months.
yeah, much longer period of time.
Okay, and do we have any money in the budget? Because that's going to cost
That's
money.
what I was just gonna say, I don't think that's money we need to spend.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that the $615,000 that was allocated for the rehab of the building would have to pay for an architect to put together a scope of work for the rehab of the building. I mean, it would have to, I mean, that was certainly contemplated within the scope of the article, that whatever we need to do to rehab the building would be a part of that funding. I mean, there's no question about that.
So I guess is the board asking the town manager to hire, to start this process with the money that was allocated? And again, obviously, we're not spending the whole 650, but, 615, but we're eating into that by whatever. I don't know, whatever the cost is. If there's any thoughts on what the cost could be? It's probably an unfair question at this stage.
Architects, 10 to 15% of the total project cost is a general number for architects, but I mean, it all depends on the project.
And some of the stuff you're talking about, like part of that 615 was to put in ADA handicap bathrooms, and you're talking for the proposed use, not putting in the bathrooms. And there's probably other stuff that you're not looking to do with the proposed use that you're talking about. Am I correct in saying that?
Sure, but it feels, and I don't want to speak for Mrs. Palmer, but it feels like you're looking for the cost for everything that was on the menu.
yes.
So we'd have to put in things as like add alternates, like if it needed bathrooms, how much would it cost to put in bathrooms?
Didn't we have a breakdown cost from the reuse committee as a guideline?
So could
That we
tech,
have those numbers. I mean,
That's
I
when we
was
came
one
with
who
the
voted against the
615.
reuse committee, so don't, but I think there was a couple of us that did that. But
yes, they'd come forward with a
so
kind of
they
a,
have those numbers, right? I mean, we're building these new buildings to keep up the old buildings. Does that make sense? I mean, so we're building a $273 million school, so let's keep up the north. Don't bring that building down either.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep the Woburn Street, don't bring that building down. I know we talked, maybe keep the gym and make the rest recreation, and we are definitely bringing the Wildwood, though. That's gonna be a cemetery, we hope, right?
we hope, yes.
But, I mean, just keep the old buildings up and then hire more staff so that we can increase the
Rather
budget.
not.
And hire, and take care of everything. Along with what Mr. De Palma said, if it's gonna cost the taxpayer another $1.5 million, I mean, do we really wanna put that money with everything that, we have a substation coming up, with everything that's happening? Don't we wanna, if there's not a department that needs that building, don't we want to at least find out if there's a group or an organization out there with a request for information that would take on that nut and do the right thing for the building? And if not, does the taxpayer want to pay that type of money to keep the building up? I disagree with you, Mr. West. I believe this building is structurally better than the Buzzell. You think the Buzzell is better than this one. And I do think that there is possible use here as a community center, rec center, but my feeling, as you know, I think the senior center is the best place to go, and this would be great additional parking, because that field out there is used in
A lot.
crazy all the time.
That's true.
But there's just a lot going on, but we gotta, you know, we're leaving the Roman house. We're gonna keep that up too? No one can even walk in there. I mean, I got 2 new knees and a hip, and it's hard to walk in there. I just, you know, that's gonna make a great picnic ground area for the kids, I would imagine. So, I mean, let's, you know, build new to keep the old up. And, you know, I say it respectfully, I like the Buzzell School. I think there's use for the Buzzell School. I think it, you know, we need meeting space and group space. I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I think we gotta weigh in, are we gonna continue to pay taxpayer dollars to those when we have the brand-new schools up? Or are we gonna try to find some other alternative for it? Yeah.
Any other comments? So, I guess
This was just a communication, so,
it was just a communication.
believe it or not, that was just a communication. The board to consider is next.
Okay. Okay, board to consider rescinding vote to demolish the Buzzell School and endorsing the recommendations of the town manager for various town buildings. I guess there's probably a couple of different potential votes in that. I would entertain a motion to rescind the vote to demolish the Buzzell School as one motion, if there's. As chair, I'll make the motion. Is there a second to this motion?
Well, do we even need that, Mr. Chair, because at the meeting, I don't think it was last meeting, where Mr. De Palma referenced that we get information and we find out if there's department use, and if not, I mean,
course.
isn't it on hold anyways?
Yes.
That's what I thought it was. From our,
I mean,
you know,
we
from
can-
that meeting, that we made the motion that,
Yeah, we said we would not knock it down until we got all this other information you
All
all
the other
said,
thing,
and then
yep.
we would come to a decision then.
Right.
That's why I don't understand why that's even on here.
and if it's gonna take us whatever, how long, so be it. Again, the building's not going anywhere.
Well, I guess.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you?
No, I've been called out for doing public comments early, so I'm gonna, respectfully, I'm gonna delay that until we have public comments. But I guess my comment is gonna be that all of the stuff that you're thinking of putting in the Buzzell, at least, you know, what's gonna, you know, like the town files and all this stuff, is that gonna stay in this building until we come up with what we're talking about for the Buzzell, or can you still move that?
No, I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, it would stay, it was likely to stay in this building until the Buzzell was set up first for file storage anyway. It's not, currently not set up for file storage.
Okay.
But we need to find out if there's enough file storage in the new building that was just built. That's why I requested that we get the experts that built that building to tell us whether
Going into the
it's
Buzzell until
adequate
we
or
have
not.
all this information, in my
I
opinion.
mean, and if it's not adequate, I you know, keep the files here.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the intent for the new town hall was ever to keep all the files that the town has accumulated in that building.
Yeah, I believe that the files at the old town hall were intended to stay there, and probably the first ones to be digitized, because they probably have been there for quite a while.
And I
don't
think
know
that
who's looked at it.
I think that the files that we're talking about putting at the Buzzell are long-term storage files. I don't believe that the plan for the new town hall was ever to have those at the new town hall. But the reality is that there are files that exist at the old town hall, that exist in this building, that are not coming to the new town hall.
I think they should stay where they are until we figure out what's going on with the Buzzell.
Is there a basement here?
So then the question becomes, is there a consensus about, hiring an architect and getting more detailed data? Because if we're looking for costs, the only way to do that is to kind of go down that road. What we have from Socotec is a kind of, we know what it is, kind of, we walk through the building, we're taking a quick pencil effort to give you an idea of what the cost would be. I'm not suggesting that Socotec is wrong, but they have not prepared, they've not gone through and said, we're putting a stamped plan that says that this will bring this building back up to snuff. There may be, and I'm not saying that there is, but there may be a crack in the foundation that they didn't see, and they wouldn't see until they went in to do a full evaluation of the building. They're not going to stamp a plan that says it's going to cost us $1.2 million. If we're looking for nailed down costs, we're going to have an architect and a structural engineer in the building to give us those nailed down costs, and they're not going to do it for free. Socotec came up with this for free because they do regular work with the town. They said, yeah, we'll help you out by giving you this, back of the napkin
Right.
information. We could engage them and hire them to do this work. It's not unreasonable, but it is it would incur, there's going to incur cost, and there's time.
Well, let me ask you this, is there any, I'm just throwing it out there, is that could, for example, Dennis Kelly come up with again, a smoother, rough estimate for,
I think
again, I'm not trying to
the
put
1.2 million was Dennis working with Socotec, and that's what he came up with. But again, we can't hire a contractor based on what Socotec came up with and what Dennis has come up with. If we want anything more than that, we would have to hire an individual or a firm to go out there and do a full extensive evaluation of the building, and probably do some testing, to make sure that we haven't over or underestimated the asbestos. I know they did some, there was, we know where some asbestos is in the building, but, maybe this 143,000 is too much. Maybe if we had an architect out there, they'd say it was less than this. The reason why those estimates, the rough estimates, are rough. They're not final. And if we want something that's more concrete, we're going to have to spend some money on it.
so,
But regardless, just to say this, and then this is for the people in the public, regardless of what we're going to do with this building, if this building is being saved, if this building is being demolished, we're going to have somebody to go out there and do some more work on the building to evaluate what's out there. It's not, there's not a situation where we're going to do ADA remedies to this building without having an engineer with stamp plans that says this is ADA compliant. And, I think that's.
So I guess, what's the pleasure of the, I guess, what is the pleasure?
What is the pleasure of the board, I
on this?
think,
Do we-
is the question.
Do you want to engage the town manager to engage with an architect? to-
We've already done that.
No, we
No,
haven't had engaged. an
No, we've
architect.
asked them to get the numbers together.
it was a courtesy. It was a
Oh,
courtesy.
okay.
He's talking about hiring
I
Oh.
wanna get-
hiring in
I
spite of the
guess,
money.
I guess what they're saying, Gary, is that, Mr. Palmer, is that the estimate that we have, and again, it's kind of a seat of the pants estimate, is $1.2 million. How much, which side of the one, and that's to basically, make the building ADA compliant and do all the bells and whistles, sprinklers, and get it to 100%. Here's the key, let's get somebody to use it. I think what the manager's talking about is certain things that would save the building, but not necessarily go that extent, because you wouldn't be doing the ADA compliant. You probably wouldn't, where you're not having 100 people or more, you're probably not doing sprinklers.
Different kind of sprinkler system in a file storage, because you want dry sprinklers
Yeah.
instead of wet, but it's all,
So it's probably.
that's something we'd
So
have
what
to
you're,
evaluate.
what you're saying then, is, just do enough so we can get by. And I don't wanna see us waste our money by doing that. Again, if they come back and say it's only gonna cost 650,000, the people have spoken, then we gotta make a decision at that point in time. If it comes back a lot more, then we have to address it with the public again. That's all I'm saying, but let's take our time about it. Let's not rush it.
So
This
what's-
way, no one knows.
So I guess what's the pleasure of the board? Does the board want to have the town manager come up with engage an architect to come up with cost to, I guess it would, probably at this point would be to fully rehab the building, but can we now pick and choose what we want? You know, when we say, hey, we want a new roof, we want dry sprinkler storage, fire suppression.
I mean, the way you generally do it is you put on everything that you want in the specs, because if you have too many kind of like pick and choose, they add extra markups when you put them as add-ons. So like the more you include in the base price of or the more you include in the base specs, the better pricing you're gonna get. You know, we're at the point where if we want something kind of more serious than the 1.2 million, it's gonna cost us some money.
So I guess what is the pleasure of the board?
I like to see it get done, that way we know what we got.
Would you like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we order the town manager to hire an engineer or
Design professional, I think.
design professionals to review the Buzzell Center and make a determination on what the actual financial cost will be to the town.
Is there a second to that motion?
Would it be better to get an estimate on the cost first? Right?
Well,
'Cause-
That's what,
That's what
No,
he's
an
doing.
estimate of what it's gonna cost for the engineer to do the work. Like, if it's gonna be
About 10-15%.
$100,000, like, that's a different decision than if it's 30 or 25.
I mean, the only estimate that I could even reasonably give you is the like 10 to 15% of a $1.2 million job. So 10% is 100,000.
Yeah, exactly.
15% is
That's a lot of money.
150 grand. I mean, that's, you know, if we're looking
May
at
not use.
if we're looking at the full, now, but
what?
that's the cost through the project. They may charge us less to just prepare us a spec. They may not, you know, that's the cost for them to sit and monitor the project.
That's
till
why I was
the
curious
end.
what it would cost just for this
Yeah,
exercise.
this exercise is not something I think I've done piecemeal, so I'm not sure exactly what they would charge for just an estimate without knowing the job's going forward. Or just preparing the specs and providing an estimate and then, you know, doing some on-the-street evaluation. I mean, I would imagine it would be less than it would to take the full project through.
Because the full project would be probably a year and a half of monitoring and doing whatever they do.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But it's, you know, it's,
So there is a motion on the table. Is there a second to Mr. De Palma's motion? I'll second for discussion.
I don't know what else to say. There is one thing, I do hope that the town has reviewed the Buzzell Center to make sure there's no leaks in the roof, that's all. But I mean, what else can we do? Do we want to take a chance? That 615 that'll satisfy the rebuild of the building? You know, I can't see spending the money on the building until we know exactly what it's gonna cost. There's
It's
nothing.
gonna cost money to find out what it's gonna cost.
Yeah,
That's-
well, unfortunately, that's the way life is today. And, you know, I'd rather spend some money now than to end up spending a whole lot of money later on something that, you know,
And this money would be, if we decided to go forward and rehab the Buzzell, this money would be put towards that project, right, Mr. Manager? It's not like this money would just be gone.
well, you know, we would certainly use the specs that were prepared by an architect to go forward with whatever the town decided to do with that.
Right.
With the structure. That would, you know, assuming that's all consistent, like we're talking about getting an evaluation to completely redevelop the building, but if you decide that you only want to have it as file storage, then we would cut back the scope, so it would be less, because you wouldn't be doing ADA, but you'd still have, you know, an architect that would have evaluated all of the building and determined the scope of work that would be needed to bring it back up into.
So for me, and Kevin brought this up, it was like requests for information, and there was all this other stuff that was supposed to happen. So I just don't want to spend money till we have a clear vision of what it's going to be used for. I just don't think until you know what you're going to use it for, why are we spending any money
Agree.
of taxpayers? That's my view on it.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we decided at a meeting or two ago to find out if there was a department that needed use of that building. And if not, that we would potentially put it out for a request for information to see if there was an organization or a group, and then let them do that work. Let them spend that money. Why should the town spend that money? Put it in the request for information. And if they find out that it's too much for them to spend that money to try to see if it's worth rehabbing, then you come back and you have to make a tough decision as to whether you want to bring that building down or spend money, over $1 million probably, even if you do it in increments, it's still money, to put the building back up to running use. Or would you rather spend that money over here and make this your community recreation center? But it's still, I'm still baffled about the storage. Spending $37 million. I've run through my mind ever since I got this memo. It kept me up at night.
Well, like I said, I think we're talking about storage that wasn't contemplated for that building ever. Because I know they weren't ever planning on taking the stuff from the art center. I mean, they've never even counted that.
But we can't keep just spending money and spending money. I mean, we're talking about a $273 million brand-new school.
173. You said it before 200. It was 100. Give me a little heart palpitation. There's 100.
I feel better now. I saved the town $100 million.
Yeah, right there.
Got it for a third, Kevin. You saved a third.
And then we're talking about, in the future, doing another one over at the Shawshene
West side.
School, and by then I'll be down in Florida and not paying any taxes. But I just, we gotta watch out for the taxpayers. I mean, we've just got an increase of $620 on an average house, and I'm sure that with the house assessments going up, that $620 is a lot more, and then we're gonna get hit with the money for the school and.
$400, a little bit over.
Another 400 on the average, and I know it's spread out, and we have all these, but.
But I will go back.
And also, let me just, in the commercial base too, I mean, we keep taxing the commercial base. And thank God they're staying in town.
I know.
Because if they start leaving, then we're gonna be up the creek without a paddle. So,
But I will say that,
things moving here.
but I will say that that the town, and again, you can say it's enforceable or not enforceable, but the town gave us, in my opinion, clear direction to save the building.
Was it 150 people? Out of,
I think it was 200.
or 200? I can't remember.
But the thing is that.
I was just honest. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Around 200 people.
200 and
Right.
there's more than 200, but yeah.
But the thing is that, to what I said to Ms. Maselli earlier, I mean, 25,000 people could, or whatever the number of registered voters is, could have all attended that meeting, and we've had many a town meeting. I've been to, 40-odd years of town meetings, and, as have other people in this table, and we've had 50 people show. We purposely don't have a quorum call. We used to, years ago, what used to happen is that we used to have a quorum call like in the middle of the meeting, and somebody would have to physically count the attendees, and if we didn't have a sufficient number of attendees at the meeting, they'd either, they'd postpone for a while to see if we can get more people to meet that quorum, or if they couldn't, the meeting's over. So, and we don't have a quorum call at our town meetings in Wilmington, probably because of that. I mean, you get, like 4,000 people show up for the school meeting, but how many people show up at the annual town meeting? I mean, we're sitting there at, 9 o'clock when the meeting's supposed to start, and we're like, hey, when are we gonna get a quorum? When are we gonna get a quorum? And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, it's 9:20, we got a quorum, let's go. And some of that, quite honestly, is people coming in, signing their names, and leaving. I mean, let's be honest. No, when they start that meeting, there's not the amount of people that were registered to vote for that in that morning. I've seen people sign and then leave just so that their name is counted. But again, that's why I say, I think, in my opinion, the town has spoken. I don't want to waste taxpayer money. I'm a taxpayer too. I pay my well over my fair share of taxes, so I get it. But like I said, I think the town gave us, or authorized us, ordered us, whatever word you want to use, $615,000 in association with this building. So, and you can say 200 people, 250 people, 1% of the population, whatever, but it's the population that showed. And if this is a way that we can get an accurate cost of what the building needs, then so be it, because that's what I think we'd have to do that anyway in order to do any restoration of the building. Am I correct in saying that, or would we not be doing that?
I think anything we do to the building, we're gonna likely require an architect.
So even like, yes, your recommendation on using it as file storage and historical commission storage and whatever.
Right, if only for the fire suppression system and the interior demarcations of the building, we would have an architect do a plan, But that's what we would do for just about any.
Okay, so.
And I think
Significant
that's spending the people's money a lot better than just saying, go ahead and fix it. You get 615, do what you can. Doesn't work like, it can't work like that. It doesn't work like that in the real world. And I don't care if there was one person at town meeting or 1 million people at town meeting, you did speak. Makes no difference, you spoke. But let's do it right now. Let's see what this thing is gonna really cost. And again, why are we rushing? I'd rather take my time and be called, pardon me?
There's no heat in the building. It's being demolished as you speak.
No, it's not being demolished.
The worst thing you can do in an old building is to take your heat out.
Okay.
So I guess we have,
We're just going in circles, guys.
we have
There's a
all-
motion
going
on the
on right
table.
now?
There's a motion and it's been seconded. We've had discussion. Are we ready for a vote?
This is the architect one?
So this is to hire, to
Our
authorize. the
divine
town-
professional.
Okay.
Well, is there a motion to approve? Excuse me, we had a motion second, all in favor of approving that request? Say aye. All opposed?
Okay.
Motion fails. So I guess what do we do with the building?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
The rest of the work we said we were
I
gonna
think
do.
Hold on.
what we should do is what we had said in the previous meeting, as Mr. Kyra said, was to figure out municipal use, which I believe there is none other than the storage, and then take it to the next step to see if there's any public use for it by putting of RFPs or whatever the process is through the town to do that. If we get people, I don't know the vetting process, whatever, but at that point, then maybe we take the steps to say, okay, whoever wants to use it, this is what they want to use it for. If it falls within our guidelines, whatever it may be, they have to be the ones that are going to pay the 1.2 million or whatever it is. If it's not going to be used for any municipal use, we shouldn't be paying a dime. So I think that's just my opinion. That's the next step. That's what I would propose.
Agree. That's what we voted on the
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah, I think we gotta reel it back to that, like Mr. Carter
Yeah,
said.
I would agree. I mean, a request for information first.
Right,
and then
right,
a
right.
Request for
Yeah,
proposal if there's any interest in it,
yeah, right,
so that they
right.
can do
And
the
RFI first, you're right.
due diligence
Yeah.
on it.
Because that way, at least we're going into it saying, okay, you know, we have X amount of people that are interested in doing whatever, and obviously we have, it's under our purview as far as, you know, what can go in there due to zoning and all that stuff. You know, and then take it from there, and then, you know, and let it be known to whoever's interested that, you know, whatever you want to do, it's on your dime. It's a triple net lease, you know what I mean? It is, you know, it's not going to be on the town to maintain.
Okay. Think you kind of have marching orders, is that, you understand?
Sure,
what the-
is you put that in the form of a motion?
So I'm going to make a motion that we put,
Do an RFI?
do an RFI for people interested in using the Buzzell. And obviously, I don't, again, with the process, you know the process, so if you could just do it, that I just, you know, and I just wanted to be clear that, you know, it would be on their dime, so to speak, that this is not something that the town is gonna, you know,
Spend money.
spend money on, exactly.
Okay, is there a second to Ms. Maselli's motion?
I'll
Mrs.
second it.
Obama. Okay, any discussion? The only discussion that I have is that, is there any further town department use? You know, we're talking at this stage, storage for town files and historic commission. I don't know, you know, are there any other, you know, does that, how much of the building does that encompass to?
There wasn't any other department that had it for active use.
Okay, all right, so all in favor of Ms. Maselli's motion? Okay,
Thank you.
so, and I guess the second, under this board to consider is that, is there a motion to endorse the recommendation of the town manager for the various town buildings?
Well, I think that because the Buzzell's on there, that's probably a moot point.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to take, if we could take the buildings one.
The car had comments too, and you had comments on some of the uses here too, right?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah, I
already
think
said.
number
Yeah.
6 just
So
has
we
to
would want to
be.
adopt it as
Everybody
is.
heard enough from me.
And is there desire to bring in the architect, as Mr. Kyra said, or bring
We
in the
already
people
voted
to
that
say,
down.
do we have, you know, why do we not have accurate storage in
That
in
architect.
the new town hall? So, I don't know, is there a
The
motion, does
OPM?
anybody want, was that something you really want to bring these folks in, or is there an appetite to do that?
If we need if we needed the Buzzell for storage, because we don't have enough storage space at the town hall, but I think Mr. Slagle clarified it adequately.
Yeah, like, as I said, I mean, I think they were looking at active files when they were talking about the storage at town hall. There was never, I think that when the evaluation was done by the folks who went through and were looking at what file cabinet should be there and what should be in the basement, they weren't looking at long-term storage like cold storage. They weren't looking at that. They were looking at active files that were in regular use in the town hall. And I haven't had a department tell me that that's not sufficient for that. It's just the long-term cold files that are.
Okay, I'm satisfied there.
Board satisfied? Okay. All right. Board to consider. Hopefully we get into something that might not be as long a discussion. Board,
So, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to table board to consider 6.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, board to consider number 7. Is there a motion to renew the common vicular license for Nick's Pizza, Roast Beef and Subs, 331 Main Street, and Will Sub LLC, DBA Subway, 206 Ballardville Street? I think we
So moved.
So,
want to take,
second?
should we take them one at a time, or together?
No, I think you can put them both together unless there's controversy about one of them.
Okay,
I made it, Gary seconded it.
I second it.
motion second. Any discussion? Okay, good. All in favor? Okay, board to consider accepting a gift from Lowell 5 in the amount of $5,000. If there's you want to discuss
Did we
that at
take
all?
up the subway one?
Yeah, we did, we took
Oh,
both
you
the
took them
same.
both at the same
Yeah,
time?
that's
Okay,
what it
because
was
I
for.
only heard the first one mentioned. I heard.
Yeah, and I
you
said
mentioned
in
next.
Subway.
Oh, you did?
I did
Okay.
say in Subway. Mr. Manager, I don't know if you want to,
Yeah, so this is $5,000 that Lowell 5 is donating to provide assistance for food insecurity.
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to accept
So
the
moved.
donation?
Second for
moved.
discussion?
Motion from Mr. De Palma, second by Ms. Maselli. Discussion.
Does that go to the food pantry, or like, how do we use those funds to make sure it goes to the, to the people that need it?
Yeah, so it's coming to the town. We would have to make a determination as to how we're going to expend it for food insecurity. I think Lowell 5 is kind of leaving it up to
Okay.
town to make a determination as to
Okay.
how to use it. So we would likely be, determining that if once the gift is accepted,
Okay.
how that would be used for insecurity. I think the food banks, if they feel like they need funds, that's a
Yeah.
thing. I think you had mentioned maybe we could turn this $5,000 around and give it to the farmer's market.
That's what I was
And
gonna
then
say as well.
they wouldn't have to have ask for as much money and
That's
they
what
would get the
yeah,
$5,000.
I had that down as a
So we
note as
could,
well. Okay.
we'll evaluate and bring that
If you
back.
could just let us know when the determination
Yeah,
is made.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the donation? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Board to consider number 9, we already took up.
Yep.
As a part of the-
Okay, board to consider, number 10, appointing Nikki Jameson to the Council for Arts, a term to expire 30 April 2028. Is there a motion is Ms. Jameson here? Okay, because I know some of the other folks were. Okay. Is there a motion to accept her as the application for the Arts Council?
So moved.
Mr. De Palma, second by
Second?
Mr. Gailwar. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
You can go with your left hand.
Yeah. Listen, yeah.
You can nod.
No, you can't not.
No,
That's a-
okay.
No naughty.
Okay. 11, board to consider to ratify the town manager's appointment of Joseph Accardi to the Historical Commission for a term to expire April 30th, 2026. I'm just curious if Mr. Accardi is here.
He is not, but I do want to know note that this was, that Bonnie and the members of the Historic Commission
Yes.
did have an interview with Mr. Cardy and gave an endorsement that he should be appointed, so.
Is the date wrong?
Date? Term to expire,
Huh?
No, he's filling a term that's expiring in April.
yeah.
Same thing.
And then he'll go for reappointment. in-
Oh, okay, I was reading the wrong one. I got it.
Yeah,
It
so
seemed like
he's,
his term was ending.
his term is ending in 3 months.
That's why I was like, what?
Yes, yeah. But then he'll be on the renewal appointment list for anybody who's
Oh, got it,
renewal.
got it, yep.
Renewing.
Anyway.
But yeah, he's got a trial period. We'll see. I'm sure that Joe will do great.
Is there a motion to approve Mr. Accardi for the
I'll make the
historical-
motion.
Yeah, is there a second? Mr. Kyra?
3 months.
Any discussion? All in favor? 5, okay. Okay, and then we have our final board to consider. Request of John Romano on behalf of the Wilmington Sons and Daughters of Italy to use the the municipal parking lot at the 4th of July building on Saturday, March 28, 2006, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday, March 29, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a diaper drive. Is there so a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Palmer, second by Ms. Maselli. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Public comments. And what we'd like to do is keep public comment. Okay, if you could give your name and address for the record, sir, and public comments are limited to 5 minutes.
5 minutes, perfect. Yes, my name is Christopher Pietoro, 32 Faulkner Ave. There was a lot of discussion today about the Buzzell, and I think that was rough. But one thing I do want to say about thinking outside the box, Mr. Palma, you mentioned let's think outside the box. I get really uncomfortable when so much of the talk is about it's yay or nay. I think there's so much we can do with the spaces. You know, either if we keep it or we turn it down. So much conversation just revolves. If we demolish it, it just turns into a parking lot. I think the last thing we need more is asphalt in the town. We don't need more asphalt. The Buzzell Garden sounds like a great ring. The Buzzell Park sounds like another great use. The Buzzell, anything that the public can use and utilize and be part of sounds so much better than the Buzzell, secondary parking lot to the town hall. It doesn't feel that it goes to the spirit of what the people voted for. I think more than the building has a personal meaning for the town, but I also think that every time every time the town gives away a use that they could use for now. Parking lots, you can use it for parking, but again, is that what we need more? More asphalts? I think that we need more something for the town to hold on, something that we can still honor the name of the school, the space, what it was used for, that doesn't require, the $1 million to renew it, or it doesn't require just tearing it down to build more parking lots. So I just say, I like your idea of let's think outside the box. Let's give people something else than just it's either this or that. Because I think that there's so much discussion about keeping it, but if we don't, I just don't want to see it into a parking lot.
Thank you, sir. Any other?
Well, that's it.
Rob Fasulo, 28 Marjorie Road. Some of the comments here are just abhorrent. Some of you didn't win your elections by the amount of people that showed up at that town meeting. You guys were given your directives, your marching orders. We still contend that you guys as a board don't have the authority to demolish a building, but we'll concede that at this point here. It's to be saved. That's it. You don't have to like it. Town meeting voted for it. We gave you $615 million. I was the one who stood up and said, we will come back for more money. And the fact that we got numbers written on a napkin, the reuse committee, to make this decision, I mean, it's insulting to me, and I'm not even on it. Shocking that those numbers are not accurate. Neither here nor there. Mr. Chairman, I reached out to you a couple weeks ago regarding the ice skating rink that the town authorized the purchase of a few years ago. We haven't seen it. Because I'm limited with time, can you address where that is? Are we going to be able to put it up for the kids? They've lost a nice sledding hill for the new town hall. Are we losing a skating area for them as well? What's the status of this?
Well, I think what you're talking about is that we purchased a temporary rink at the Rotary Park, and that was, probably 10, 15 years ago or something like that, maybe?
It was under, as a matter of fact, I was the one who proposed putting that out, I believe it was 2018. When I was chair of the board, I said we should purchase that, and we did, and it was put up at the Rotary Park. I believe that there were some issues with it. They put it up for a couple of years maybe, and I don't know if the tarp underneath got ruined because people were going on it when it wasn't solid. And I don't know that we purchased a new one, but.
Because the way I understood it was because we had a warm winter that year, and the ice wasn't freezing, the water wasn't freezing on it, that people were doing something and it damaged.
They weren't paying attention to the
Yeah.
signs. And
So
unfortunately, but it's not.
Using, is it done? Is it?
My understanding from Jamie McGall is it's not, and it reached a condition where it's not usable.
Okay. Thank you for that. The second thing I'm going to bring up is a lot of representations were made to the town when the town hall was proposed, and I'm just going to bring up a couple of dates. Wilmington Apple reported 7/16/24. There was a meeting here from the architects, October 11, 2022, where the representation was that the swing green was not going to be touched. I had the ability to drive through that parking lot 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I noticed that the swing green not only was touched, it lost about 25% of its area. I went through presentations, and what I will call a witness tree that was in the presentations is now gone. My question, if you would be kind enough to find out, because I'm sure that you don't have the answer, how much of the swing green has the townspeople lost? Is that something that you can find out? I mean, a representation was made that it wasn't going to be touched, yet here we are, and we've now found out that erroneous numbers are being given to the public. Is this just another promise that was not kept? Seems to be kind of the thing here. Thank you.
Suzanne Sullivan, 60 Lawrence Street. I will say it was really painful to have to sit here and listen to all that. For somebody who's been going to town meeting in this town for almost, 30 years, annual town meeting almost every single year, and for this board to sit here and say that, a vote of, over 200 people doesn't represent what the town wants. Do you know how many votes of this town would be null and void under your scenario? I mean, that's insanity.
I didn't say that.
If it doesn't matter, first of all, I'm not addressing one individual, I'm addressing the board. Okay, I just want to make that very clear.
Okay,
Okay, I'm addressing the chair and I'm
address the
addressing the
chair,
board.
Okay.
Okay, no individual. It's very upsetting. So I find it almost disrespectful when people take their time out of their day to go to a town meeting and to vote, and then be told, and all the work that people went in to get the signatures for that special town meeting. It was at a real terrible time on a Thursday on a November night, and we still pulled a healthy quorum, which is sometimes even more difficult to do at annual town meeting. We pulled a healthy quorum, and we got a good vote, period. This board, the town, was directed to do work at the Buzzell to save it. And it's so clear and evident that this board, this town, does not want to do that. So you're jumping through hoops in every which way that you can to find a way not to do it, not to do what the town meeting told you to do. Period. Let's be honest. I'm a very honest person. You might not like what I have to say, but I'm honest. And I'm being honest now. Just be honest. Try it. But the bottom line is that town meeting voted for this town to spend money on the Buzzell. And as we speak, you ripped out the heat. And for an old building not to have heat in it is its death. As it is, what we do is we do demolition by neglect in this town. We've been doing it for years, for the 30 years that I've been here. We did it with the Whitfield, we did it with the Swain. And FYI, this is the same playbook that the town used with the Whitfield. Use it for file storage, don't put heat in it, it will fall apart, we can tear it down in a few years. That's exactly what happened, that's exactly what you're trying to do. I'm not stupid, people are not stupid. And I am being honest, try it. I'm so upset listening to this banter back and forth. You don't need an architect to make the bathrooms ADA compliant. Do it. You don't need an architect to put heating in. Do it. You ripped it out. It's shameful. And I just want to remind this board that one of the reasons why the building didn't, and it got a pretty good score, 62.8 viability score. That's not a bad score that the committee came up with, okay? And I want to remind the board that it got a 2 for ADA compliance. That score would have been a lot higher if the town had done its job years before and made that building ADA compliant, a senior center. It got a 2. It should have a 10. All right, and that it should be 72.8. And it also got a bad score of 2.4 because of the interpretation of all the work that needed to be done. Once again, if the town did its due diligence in maintaining its building, it would have gotten a better score, 2.4. All the other scores were really good. If it got a 10 on those two scores, it would have been an 82, an 82.8 viability score. But because the town doesn't do its due diligence and take care of its buildings the way it should, that's why it got those two bad scores. Shame. Okay? And as a member of that committee that spent a lot of time on this building, it's insulting to a resident. And why would a resident ever want to serve on a committee like this when they're treated like this? That the work that you did is just considered nothing. And that it's just like writing, estimates on a napkin. I actually thought the estimates were too high. But you're saying that they're too low because you just don't want to save the building. Let's be honest, just try it. It's maddening.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name's Joe Jackson, 10 Apple Tree Lane. On December 3rd, I came to this meeting and there was a discussion. It was post-vote from the special town meeting, and we entertained lots of ideas on how to get information on potential occupants and uses of the building subsequent to the Building Reuse Committee's recommendations. And there was I thought there was a consensus to seek an RFI to be published, which I think you were going to lead in that instant. Sorry, through the chair. I'm kind of surprised that we're revisiting the same things in indecision, and I in my moment of clarity, I thought, I wonder if AI can help me understand what to do next, because it's a hard thing sometimes. And it says business leaders struggle to make decisions due to fear of failure, information overload, perfectionism, or decision fatigue, leading into inaction, which itself is a decision that erodes the confidence and opportunity. I think we're kind of there, that there's so many things that could be done, we don't know what we should do. I'm going to skip forward to some strategies to help us move forward more decisively. Number one, define your core. Start with your moral compass and what truly matters for the business or the entity. We've had some exploration through the Building Reuse Committee. I think it's probably useful to the town if that committee were reconvened to do the work, because I can tell from this board there's not a whole lot of buy-in on what should be done or how to go forward. And maybe if you deputize that committee to find the occupants and to score them and to evaluate, authorize them to make some sort of decisive action. And if you authorize them, the people who care about it, I think you'll get better results. Gather smart data. Use frameworks like Colin Powell's 40-70 rule. Then seek input wisely, get perspectives from diverse teams, clarify and frame the problems and ask strategic questions focusing on the facts. And then act decisively and with flexibility. Move forward understanding that clarity comes after starting. And then consider the time horizons, set a deadline for what it's going to look like in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And then the last one is make it reversible. And that gives you comfort because you frame decisions as reversible experiments that you can redirect as needed. I come to you with this recommendation so that what happened today's 30 minutes of going around in circles doesn't have to happen every time. But you've deputized a committee to come with the best information forward. It could be through the professionals, it could be through the building department, but people who have buy-in, which it appears that as a body you don't have buy-in because you don't know what you want, because it doesn't align with what the town has said that they want. So I'll leave that with you as my offering to you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I just address Mr. Jackson, just for information to clarify? You mentioned December 3rd, because you pointed to me about I was in charge of the RFI. I believe what was mentioned at that meeting was that we would find out through the town manager what departments were in need of using that building first. And then once that came to the board, we would discuss an RFI, which is what we did tonight. So it wasn't to structure the RFI right away. It was to find out what departments had use for the building.
Okay, thank you. I was under the understanding that the RFI might be both public in nature and private in nature going,
Well, it's gonna go out publicly,
right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other public comments? Okay. Announcements. Does anybody from the board have any announcements?
Yeah,
Mr. Kara.
Mr. Chair, just, I'd like to get an update on the ARPA funds. I know that the deadline's coming up December of this year.
Yeah, December 26th.
So I want to just make sure
Sure.
that we're not squandering any funds,
No,
letting them hang out there.
I
So
believe they're all expended, but I'll double check. I can bring a
Jamie-
report.
Jamie used to give us a report, Jamie McGoldrick.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Jamie. We can have that for the next meeting.
Okay, right.
Any other announcements from the board? Okay, I have two. One of the things the town manager and I talked about for a while ago was when the select board or the chair goes to a function, a lot of times, when different department heads go to a function, sometimes they don't have anything the different department heads have things to give out, a certificate or some sort of token of recognition. So one of the things that the manager and I talked about was a coin and I'd like to present them to the membership, if you will. Basically what it is that, we come up with the idea of a coin that could be given at the discretion of the chair, whoever the chair is. It's like if you go to a retirement, somebody's retiring, or if there's some sort of noteworthy thing that you'd just like to offer some sort of a token of recognition for. So wanted to present the first coins to fellow members of the board. And like I said, this will be a continuation thing that'll go, well beyond my term as chair. My term as chair ends in, at the election or the meeting after, depending on the results. So on one side, it's a copy of the Baldwin apple, which is kind of the symbol of our town. And then it says Community Pride Service, and it's got the zip code 01887 on the apple. And then on the other side, it basically says Wilmington Select Board and has our town seal. So I'd like to thank, I think, Mr. Slagle and probably Bev was probably instrumental in this as well. So I want to thank you guys for putting this together. And like I said, we'll be awarding these as time as time and effort allows. So, and again, I'm hoping that this will be a permanent fixture to the town, well beyond the service of anyone here in this board, self-included. The other thing is that I know a lot of people say, gee, what's going on with the town elections and this, that, and the other. And I'm just going to say it just to say it out there that I am planning to run for re-election to the Board of Selectmen, to the Select Board. So just throwing that out there. So any other announcements while we're here? Okay. New business. Do we have any new business? We've been here long enough? Okay. Important dates, Mr. Manager.
Thank you.
We'll get through it.
January 5th to the 16th, we have curbside collection of Christmas trees. January 12th is the select board meeting tonight. January 14th through 16th, town offices will be closed for moving. If you do need to reach a town department, you can call. The town department heads will be monitoring voicemail as soon as they have access to their phones. So we will try to make sure that anybody who has an emergency need for town services gets serviced, even though we will be closed. January 19th, next Monday, is Martin Luther King Day. Town offices will be closed. And then we open at 146 Middlesex Ave on January 20th. So please remember when you're driving to drive to a different location if you're coming to visit us. January 21st, there's an Olin Superfund site open house public information update at the high school library from 6 to 8.
No, sorry to interrupt. Is that going to be recorded, or is there going to be any presentation? I'm traveling for business. I won't be able to attend it, and I was just curious.
I can check. So we're not putting that on. That's being put on by the EPA, so I can check to see what
Just curious, if it be even like a presentation or something that I could,
I'll try to find out what kind
I
of
mean,
information
obviously,
they have.
it's not about me, but I just, if there's some materials that I can catch up on, let me know.
Absolutely. And January 26th, the select board will be meeting here. Even though the new town hall is open, we will still be meeting here. Sorry about that. On the 26th, we're gonna, just to make sure that the AV systems are up and running, we're gonna have our, the public meetings will continue through the month of January in this building. So we will still be meeting here, room 9 at 7 o'clock PM, and there will be the town manager's FY27 budget presentation at that meeting.
Okay, and finally, we have a salute to service. Salute to service is to Spec 5 Robert Fisher. Robert was born on September 16th, 1944 in Johnson City, Tennessee. He joined the U.S. Army from Boston, Mass. On February 23rd, 1965. He served with the 237th Combat Engineer Battalion in the Federal Republic of Germany as a combat engineer, where he attended the rank of SP4T. Left the service in August 24th, 1966, and returned home to Winchester, Mass. Rejoined the U.S. Army on December 1st, 1967, from Boston, Mass. Was assigned to Charlie Company, 2nd Engineering Battalion, 2nd Infantry Division in Korea. While serving with Charlie Company, 2nd Engineer Battalion, performing training with live mines, a fellow soldier was injured in a live minefield on 18 May 1968. On that date, Specialist Fisher was a member of a detail installing minefield markers when he was informed that an infantry patrol had accidentally entered a minefield and that one patrol member had stepped in on a mine and sustained serious injury. Specialist Fisher proceeded to the area of the accident and shouted a warning to all patrol members in the minefield to stand in place. He entered the minefield and guided 4 patrol members out of danger into a safe area. Then, without regards for his own safety, he again went into the mined area to attempt a rescue of the injured soldier. While moving towards the injured man, Specialist Fisher injured himself was wounded by an explosion of a mine. Even though he was seriously injured, he continued to issue warnings to other wounded men, telling them not to move because there were more mines around him. Through his quick response, calmness, and courage, he was directly responsible for saving 5 soldiers from injury. Spec 5 Robert Fisher was awarded the highest non-combat medal a soldier can receive, the Soldier's Medal. Robert left service on December 9th, 1969 due to his injury and was placed on retirement permanent disability. He was also awarded the National Defense Service Medal, Sharpshooter M14 Rifle, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Marksman Qualification Badge with Machine Gun Bar. So we'd like to thank Mr. Fisher for his service. And with that, I will accept a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn the meeting. Sorry.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Kyra, I guess? Or- Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much and good night.